Yeah, it's been
We are
3
starting.
weeks since we did this thing.
No, it hasn't.
Anyone remember
has.
how this works anyway? Yeah, it's been 3 weeks.
Has it really been? Holy
Yeah.
crap.
Yeah,
Well, when you miss 2 weeks, that means it's been 3 weeks.
it's 3.
Because
Yeah.
it's 21
The
days.
how it works is really
when
simple.
you miss 2 days.
We are gonna need to, like, maybe a few months in the future, we're gonna come up with a bingo card, and then people can just pick it in the comments and they can tick it off as we talk. There's all the greatest hits. There's us complaining about San Francisco, complaining
What?
about 999.
That is not on the greatest
There's,
hits.
Why is it not? There's Andrew
We
screaming
just
because
randomly you guys randomly talked about it today for some reason, but that doesn't mean it's normal. When have we ever complained about San Francisco on this podcast?
Andrew, tell him.
Right now. So
That's
one
not
of the
that doesn't
things I
make it
hate
a
about
bingo
this.
card thing. It'd be really weird. You're supposed to.
It's called a free space. Come on, guys.
It's a free space.
It's like when you have like a fucking what's it called? Like a bingo card and stuff like that. It's supposed to be things that like happen or you're predicting will happen. Like not just like wild card random shit. Like I hope they talk about My Little Pony today. I think they're known for doing.
But that's right.
You
that's
could.
right. Yeah, that's
You
another
could.
one that we. Yeah, I think
We
I'm gonna come up
never
with that
talk
initiative.
about My Little Pony. I don't
well,
know.
now we
talked
are.
that one time,
Someone's.
I guess we
someone's
talked
That's a
bingo
lot of
cards
time.
going off.
I guess we probably talked about it last time,
A little.
but like briefly. It was just the thing about Rapidash.
We complain about microtransactions,
I mean, that's normal.
capitalism.
And how everyone's like, microtransactions good now. And it's like, stop being that person.
Yes.
Why
We
did we...
the never answering a question that has been sent to us. That's
Yeah,
a
well,
bingo
there are not
bit.
that many questions, except for the one guy that sent 30 questions in one email, which is an inefficient... I mean, technically it's an efficient way to ask questions, but it makes it very hard to remember where we left off.
That's also true.
And then other people are like, how would you like to discuss the war in the Middle East? Like people just like fucking like ask like giant questions, and some people ask like we have one email that's like somebody's having an argument with their friend and they wrote like a bunch of paragraphs about the progress of the argument and like all the points for and against, and it's just like this is a lot. This is
we got an
usually
we
the
got
question.
an am I the asshole?
Usually the question you want is just like a question and not like here's the like
Diffuse.
the months of context, because then it's like, do I read this entire email? Like, is that what I do? Should I do that? Like now I can do that, but like it seems like a bit much.
Let's not do it.
Or I could ask the question at the beginning and ignore the rest, but then they'll be like, you didn't address any of my points, and it's because you wrote like 5 paragraphs as a question
Also, it's
to a
us.
podcast.
The addressing point is like we don't do that. That's like asking a tiger to paint a mural
Wow.
with colors.
Art.
I don't know.
You did
Well,
it.
I just don't. I don't think you're asking the right question to the tiger.
All the important takeaway from it is that we are tigers, and that is a nice thing.
Is that like a motivational
What?
poster?
Nothing to do with furries that we mentioned before.
Speaking of furries, are Hrothgar tigers or lions?
What? Pothgard?
Hrothgar in are they Hrothgar or
Oh,
Hrothgar?
Hrothgar.
I don't know if you pronounce the H, to be honest. We haven't encountered them in the game yet, so they're never spoken aloud.
Oh, in Final Fantasy.
I'm just having that
The
question
Cat
about
Girl
14.
MMO.
Yeah, and one cat man.
Well,
There are many cat girls, a lesser amount of cat boys, and a few cat men. And then I guess like, I don't know, bunnies or something. Like there's like one
those
of those.
look like cat men. The Hrothgar. I think they're cats. They're not tigers.
Wait, what does that mean? Tigers are inside of this. It's not even a Venn diagram. All tigers are cats. What do you mean?
I mean, and other things that are not cats are cats. But the point is,
Wait, things
not
that are
tigers.
not cats are cats?
yeah, like
What are you saying to me? What have you done?
like for example, characters, TV characters that we say. I'm trying to. Oh, Cliff. It's Cliff. Do you know It Cliff, the cat that does the TV show? I'm very
Heathcliff.
old.
I was like, what are you talking?
That's the one. I don't know English. You know how it
Gotta
is.
figure out where this fragmented thing is going. Was there like a video game controversy to talk about? What news did we miss?
Oof.
We have, like, a topic.
all I can find out is that they're feline. Like, it doesn't specify where in the feline family they fall into, but just like very generically, like they've got cat in their blood, and it's like, okay, great.
There's a cat in my blood. Oh God,
So that's all I can. That's all I can tell you. I mean, it's Final Fantasy. They're not thinking that hard about it. They think like moderately enough.
Well, I don't know about controversies. I think we actually had a relatively controversy last 3 weeks.
I don't remember any news.
There's
new Grand Theft Auto looks like potato shit.
Oh yeah, there's a new GTA.
There's that. There's that.
Yeah, by new you mean 3 old.
Back 4 Blood is also bad. That one.
Is it?
Is it?
Yeah, apparently it's not very good.
I've liked it. I don't know.
Better than Left 4 Dead?
Well,
the reviews seem to be pretty lukewarm. I didn't play it,
but that's like I don't know. That's kind of a weird question to compare it to. It's
well, it's not weird to ask at all because it's the people that made Left 4 Dead making a Left 4 Dead clone. It's weird to ask you because you famously don't like Left 4 Dead because it forces you to co-op.
Yeah, this one
like
doesn't feel like it for.
That's one of the first things we established is that you hated Left 4 Dead because you had to work together with people.
Yeah, this one doesn't feel as much that it establishes or it forces you to play with others. You can kind of run off and be okay.
That would definitely make it a bad Left 4 Dead game then.
No, you're supposed to play it with other people, but it's a lot. So the thing that makes it great
if it
is
doesn't
that,
punish you for playing it wrong, then it's a bad Left 4 Dead game. It's inherently a co-op genre. You're all supposed to be working together.
So it does punish you for doing that because a lot of the game is structured around the idea that you are collaborating together. Like, obviously, you're not going to be able to like achieve some of the missions because you need multiple people, or otherwise you're not going to be able to like make it to the other end of something because like if like 3 zombies touch you, you're dead. But and here's the big but, is that unlike Left 4 Dead, weapons have a lot more customization options to them, which means you can make really strong weapons. And if you're good at shooting, you can combine that into creating yourself as a basic tank, and you don't need no other people to stop you. But
yeah,
so like I can survive just fine without other people. But obviously the game doesn't want you to do that. So there's a lot of obstacles in your way by being the only survivor. A lot of them is like, good luck, you need to go find someone to complete this mission. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's great because I can go wander off on my own and it doesn't really punish.
No, we lost you.
Oh, sorry. So. I said, I think it's great because there's I can wander off, and there's minimal times that it will punish me. Usually in the form of like how like Left 4 Dead does, where it's like, oh no, a special enemy has gotten you, so you can't move now. But because of the card system, there's a card that you can get that allows you to break out of one of those like every certain amount of seconds. So again, you can just negate it and go like, nope, sayonara, and just keep running past it.
Oh no, does it have some kind of a obnoxious meta progression system?
Yeah,
not a meta progression system. It just has, so there's the way that you play the game is by building card decks. So you need to so you gain abilities. Yeah, you unlock cards using you unlock cards by playing the game. So the more you play the game, you get this like supply currency, and that supply currency is used to like unlock specific chains. Supply lines, they call them. And those supply lines have like cards and stickers and sprays and costumes and whatever. But no, don't but you cannot buy it with money. You cannot buy the currency with money.
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be an exploitative microtransaction thing. I just hate all these stupid fucking Skinner box mechanics. It's like whenever they're like, we're gonna bring back a cool multiplayer mode that you liked once in the past, and it's like, oh no! And like at first glance, you're like, yay, old thing I liked is gonna come back, and then it comes back, and you're like, but it's modernized now, so it's got Fortnite's fucking PvE 17 layered mechanics of like, here's your stickers and your skill tree and your booster packs of cards and your random gacha mechanics, and it's like, I just want to play the survival shooty game. I just want to do the shooty.
So you can do that.
Fucking game.
You are welcome to just ignore all of the mechanics and just play the game like a normal fucking video
game.
No, you will survive just fine. The difference is that you won't have any like uniquely special stuff to you, which is fine. You don't need it to win.
Oh, it's
you
just
can
cosmetic
survive.
then.
Yeah,
It's cosmetic stuff.
It's not just cosmetic. There are actual abilities you can unlock doing it. Like every time you hit an enemy, you gain 1 health. Like that's something you can
That
add
makes
to
it
your deck.
significantly less optional.
But you don't need that to survive. You can beat the game without them. Like you can literally just beat the whole game without using any.
We lost you again.
God fucking damn it! All right,
Something
so
about your recording setup's fucked up. Yeah.
it's my microphone's just dying. I did a bunch of tests and I could see it that it is literally just dying.
There it goes.
Right there.
It's fine. Just it's fine.
It's showing up on all recordings like that. Yeah.
It's great, but regardless, you can play the game just fine without interacting with this system at all. But it's there for if you want to. If you want to build a unique, customized experience, you can do that. If you don't want to, you don't have to. You can just play it like it's Left 4 Dead and just move on with your life. Like that, it gives you that option.
I don't know. I'm with Keith on this one. I think.
Yeah,
and that's
gameplay
fine.
Mechanics. It's totally a thing you're supposed to do. Like it's not just like
you can avoid it. Like
that's
I avoid
that's
combat.
a self-influenced challenge mode. I mean, I have a similar bone to pick with the fucking Hunt Showdown, but at least in Hunt Showdown, it's like that's like an actual like meaningful design choice built into it. But I still kind of would prefer if I could just fucking play the game.
Yeah,
I don't like how Hunt Showdown wants me
to
to fiddle with menus for 10 minutes between every match.
But remember that Hunt Showdown is absolutely pay to win. You can always have maxed out characters if as long as you pay money. So
Back 4 Blood, you cannot do
Hunt
that.
Showdown absolutely needs fucking loadouts where I could just be like, auto buy and equip this list of items. Fuck you. I just want to play the fucking game, Hunt Showdown. It's really cool. Let me like it. Because I really like Hunt Showdown every second I'm not in a menu, which is unfortunately only half the game. And I do not see meaningful depth in any way, honestly, in the fucking store. If anything, it's just a bunch of bullshit that makes the game less fair. Even without any pay-to-win mechanics, it's just like, oh, well, I'm on a win streak, which means I'm even more powerful for some reason. The opposite of what you should do to people who are already winning is make them have more of an advantage.
Yeah.
I think the intention for them, I mentioned this while we were playing, but I really do think that the game is designed in a way that some encounters you're meant to back away from and just be like, okay, we're out of here. I'm not fighting these. It does, but like also it's better than dying because if the game allows you, in the sense like you can't back out of. I think
the only choice should be about retreating should be based around whether or not you think it's like retreating can let you like win differently later in that same match, not like stupid meta progression stuff. Like if I retreat now, then it'll help me 30 minutes from now, and in 2 matches from now, I'll finally win. So I better keep my character. It's like that's
I see.
Let's delay gratification for like an hour of like constantly retreating away. That's fun. Great idea, game.
Like you're right. But I'm just saying that their intention was to make it so that it's not a fight to the last people on the.
We had that fucking courtyard fight we had that shoot 'em out in that one open farmyard like courtyard where like I was in one area and you were in another area.
The one in the windows and all that.
And
that was good. That was good.
Yeah, like I was upstairs in one place and you were like somebody was down inside of a barn, or no, somebody was in a side barn and you were like, I think you were down in the middle of the courtyard, so it's like, they've left. He's wounded, but they're leaving him alive as bait. Like it's like that kind of interaction, like the fucking end of Hunger Games, where the dogs like get that one dude and they leave him alive and torture him for like hours, hoping that the characters will like come out and try to rescue him. Stuff.
It is.
That's like a really brutal idea, but like also funny because apparently the dogs weren't there for the entire game and have any context to why like nobody would ever save this guy. Like it's
and he's gone.
No, I stopped talking.
Oh well, it also just went. It just get cut off.
Oh, did it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's like it's just.
The thing is, like, that experience of 3 people versus 3 or 2 people or a few teams, that is a really, like, that you can only get that when you're playing with 3 people. You get a little bit of that when you're playing with 2, but you need to be good, and you can't do so many wild, having one person just risking being shot while you flank. a lot of people play the game by themselves, and it's very different. It is a very different game when you play by yourself.
Oh yeah, like the average multiplayer player plays every multiplayer game alone, despite like Overwatch and all these other games all being like built around being played in co-op and being and like teams and so on, and like it fundamentally changes the entire experience. Like, yeah, it is a bit of a sell to make Back for Blood like a 4-player co-op game when the average person's going to be queuing up it with complete randos in every match. But also like those co-op experiences are way more interesting than like most single player ones or just random queuing ones. Like the team play is what makes the game have any depth or interest to it. But is that worth it if most people don't get to experience that? It's like comparable to what's it called? I was watching a video about like, what's his name? Is it Christopher Nolan?
I don't know.
The guy who made Tenet. Yeah. It's like how Christopher Nolan has this fucked up audio settings and all of his stuff. And it's this idea that like he's building all of his movies for the sound systems of like really good ultra mega cool theaters that are perfectly made, and they're going to have a transcendent audio experience, and that's why they're set up the way they are. But like for every random shitty theater that most people experience, it just leads to his movies having like incomprehensible dialogue and fucked up audio balancing, and that's why people always complain about his movies. It's like he's making a thing that most people won't experience, so what's the point? It's kind of like the Overwatch stuff.
He needs to master his
like,
stuff for the... You need to master your stuff for the thing that you're publishing.
Yeah, in his case,
the
solution is he needs to make multiple versions of the audio, obviously, like the IMAX version, the non-IMAX version. Yeah. Like there's like the question of Overwatch, where it's like Overwatch is supposed to be this really intricate team-based game, and it was supposed to have all this cool freedom of like, wow, you can swap characters and swap roles on the fly, and it's really dynamic and crazy. But then like in the reality of playing the game, it's like, oh, well, people don't work as teams because they're all queuing up individually with a bunch of randos. And if people don't immediately succumb to like having a 2-2-2 team of like 2 tanks, 2 DPS, 2 healers, then like the game falls apart and everyone has a bad time. And so it's like, sure, you can plan this cool dynamic game, but like there's a certain conversation that happened over the last like 2 years about the idea of like, at what point do they give up on their vision for the game and instead start designing their game around how people play it instead?
AKA why Doomfist exists.
Yeah, so they're like, okay, we just got to make this game around the idea of 2-2-2 at some point, because like that's just how everyone plays it, and if we don't design it that way, then the game's worse, even though it could be better. And then it's like, well, fucking nobody plays tanks, and everyone wants to play DPS. We'll make it 1-2-2. Now there's only one tank, and now the matchmaking will be better.
I don't think.
Well, it's not about what makes the game the smartest, best thing at some point. That like it's the compromise you make with your player base when you're like, well, they just won't play it any other way. Like at some point, we got to like make the game around how they're experiencing it. And that's like the gamble with a lot of the co-op stuff. Is like, what do we do when nobody is willing to play the game correctly?
Yeah,
like do we just start over and make the game they're trying to play instead, or do we stubbornly stick to the game we wanted it to be, and then it fails because no one's actually experiencing the game we wanted anyway?
Speaking of Overwatch, have you heard of their new character, Cole Cassidy? That's a cool name.
Is that the name of McCree now?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
I had not heard of that yet.
So for those not in the know, if you've been living under a video game rock,
Jesse McCree was named after a rapist.
Yeah,
alleged. Excuse you. Hold on.
With the alleged Cosby room. A thing.
Well, no, that's not alleged. That's true.
No, that was actually
the thing you aspirationally look up to because you're not a rapist.
I'm just saying, like the person has alleged crimes, but the room doesn't theoretically exist as a physical.
Yeah.
It's the room exists, but what happened in the room is all alleged at the moment. I'm not defending him. I'm just saying, like, don't put yourself up for lawsuits.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, nothing is more distressing than when someone says, this office has a frat workplace culture, and you go, oh, okay. Like,
it just tells you
I'm really bummed out because I haven't played Overwatch for like the last like 2 or 3 months. because
Well,
of
you're
this
not missing
shit.
anything.
Well, I am missing something because I like the game, and the game I
you
like in the form it currently is just going to go away in a few months. It's just going to be gone, and I'm spending the time that it is in this form, like not wanting to play the game because of this shit. And it's like, this is just a bummer. I'm just going to like run out the clock on the game in this format, and if I ever do return to it, it'll just be a different game at that point, and I might not like that game. It sounds way less like it has co-op like mechanics in it, and it sounds way more like it's just like a team-based shooter, which more and more makes it sound like all the gimmicky characters that are interesting and what made Overwatch fun might be kind of irrelevant because everyone just needs to play as like Soldier and Sombra and Tracer and all the shooty boys, and it's like, that sucks.
What I really like about Overwatch is the fact that you as a player learn your companions' characters, to play well. I think eventually, even if you don't care too much for that, you eventually know. Like if you have a companion who's you have a Moira, or you have a the healers in particular are very important for you to learn them.
Oh yes,
But
like there are
the
so many
DPS
matches where people just refuse to understand what their healers are and how they work, and they're like, why am I dying? And it's like, sir, you're a hamster. You're supposed to find the med kits. You're hiding behind walls constantly. Literally no healers in the game can heal you.
And also, that's interesting that you say the hamster is like that. I've never played with a hamster, but I know that Tracer is like that. Tracer is not supposed to really rely on healers. If you play Tracer, you need to know the medkits. And I think the Widowmaker is as well like that. But either way,
yeah,
like
sometimes you'll heal the snipers if they're in a visible spot. But the
if you're
Sombra,
Ana,
Tracer, any
depends-
really
like, it depends. If you have an
mobile
Ana, that's
character is going to be hard to heal. So you should only really expect healing when you're literally in the fray in front of your healers, and any other moment, like when you retreat, it's like, that's it. Like, you've retreated in a direction to survive. That means you need to go pick up your own health or loop all the way back around to your healers from behind or something, because they're not going to chase you. They'll just die.
I think that is the notion of you having to learn your companions' characters is a really great thing, and it's not very common to see that at all. Like even in more traditional MOBAs like Dota. Not that I have much experience playing Dota or Heroes of the Storm or anything, but even in those games, you don't like it's a little bit of a like 3-year-old kids playing side by side, but they're not really playing together. A lot of co-op games, well, maybe not co-op games, but a lot of competitive shooters or MOBAs tend to be like that. You're just doing your own thing, and as long as you do your own thing good, you're gonna win. And there's some synergies here and there, but it's, I don't know. I can see what you mean by Overwatch being no longer there in the future and that being a bad thing. I have trouble playing competitive.
Well, it's just like World of Warcraft, or hell, if you were somebody that somehow liked the original Final Fantasy 14 or something, like games just get replaced by other games sometimes. It's kind of, that's the bummer of Overwatch 2 being just to like, fuck you, Overwatch is gone, now we're playing Overwatch 2, is like, but what if you like Overwatch 2 less than Overwatch 1? Well, it's the only one that exists now. It's like that idea, that's a bummer. That's a bummer. I don't like that idea at all. Like, they're getting rid of the second tank, which means like Zarya is a fundamentally different character. Because you're not doing interplay with it. Like, the whole way that me and Andrew have ever cooperatively tanked and played together was Zarya Ryan and having that interplay. And we actually got decently good at it at times. That's whole
a
part of the
good
game
combo.
won't exist in a few months. Those
Zarya
characters just
Ryan
can't
is my
interact in
favorite.
that way.
That's my favorite group of tanks, honestly. Better than
Who needs
Ryan.
tanks? You know what we need more of? DPS. Get us more DPS, more damage, because if there's more damage, then there's less need for healers and tanks, and just get them all to go away and just make Valorant. Just make Valorant. That's all you gotta do.
That's right, because Valorant.
That is the concern, is a bunch of special heroes are just going to run around and frag each other, and it's just going to be awkward.
That sucks.
I think you're thinking with a too limited scope in mind, Keith. There are only 2 reasons for Overwatch: loot boxes and to be better than Valorant.
It sucks that it's an arms race, though.
Is
like
it?
Back in the day, yeah, because like if you make a game and then some new game comes around and it's more popular because it's different or because it's better or whatever, you should make a new game, not change your game to fit the new thing. And of course, it's Fortnite world that we live in, so it's of course they're gonna do that. Games change constantly, but for
Sir,
Overwatch
this is
to be done,
capitalism. You need to find the thing that's popular and make so much of it you destroy the entire market for it, and then when someone else goes and be's creative, then you look at them and go, I'm coming for your market next. And then you repeat that.
You made this, I made this.
No, it's you made this, I made a better version of this. Don't look at that guy's thing, mine's better.
I don't necessarily think that Blizzard's chasing Valorant specifically. I just think that the game fundamentally, they're like, how do we solve this queuing problem where DPS people have to queue for like 15 minutes and tanks get into matches instantly because just no one will play tank. And they're like, 1, 2, 3. They did the one. They tried 1, 2, 3 in that like half-assed like experimental card. They like, I think it was the launch experimental card. Like the first experimental card they ever did was that. Like that's how desperately they clearly wanted to test that idea. Was they patched an entire new mechanic in just for testing that, and then they slowly tested a few other ideas here and there. But like that was such a strong idea inclusion at the time that it was just this idea of like, oh, this isn't just like a wow, what a funny idea. It's like, no, this is what they wanted the next game to be. And so when that particular test went really badly, that it was only all the more worrying because they're like, no, that's what we actually want the next game to be. Fuck.
But I don't know. I think it's not a great idea to ask people who clearly are playing this game for the 2-2-2 or the, I guess some people that just need the free for all aspect. Like that's the people playing this game are people either too familiar with like being able to choose whatever you want, so that has to be a thing in arcade forever now, or you have people that are like 2-2-2 is the way of the gospel and I will never change my mind. And like you're asking them, hey, what if we just didn't do that? And they're like, no, I can't take another change. That's a third change, I'll die. like there's just I don't know. It's like even with the 1-2-2, like people are dying. I was like, Overwatch is dead, I'll never play Overwatch again. It's like, okay, guys, like we can't just like make the same game forever. It's not how this works. We have like, this is not working. This game is not working at its current state of like play. This is a terribly unfun game. So there has to be something that changes in this thing to make it work.
Yeah, no, I fundamentally
I
disagree with the idea. People talk so catastrophically about the current Overwatch, and I don't understand why. Because I don't experience that. Whatever game they're talking about, that's just so unfun. I'm like, no, it's neat. What's wrong? What's the problem?
The problem, there's no requirement for people to learn every class. And without that, you create literally the worst possible environment to teamwork in. Because like you just said, there are people who like have no fucking idea how other ranks work. They're just like, oh yeah, I don't know. I've just been playing DPS for life.
None of the changes will change that.
Well, ideally, it's
just
less people in those
to learn
positions.
the game, and that's why they're in low ranks.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying like ideally you can like limit the scope of people. Like now there's only one tank. You don't need to rely on someone else to understand how often on tanks work. It's just one tank. Get it? It's easy. You the big guy that stands in the front. Done. Like, and then healers will eventually just shrink down to one. You just need one healer, and it can heal the entire team, like a Lucio
Honestly,
or a BAP or something.
I think that one of the reasons why people just don't learn other characters, noobs don't learn other characters. Eventually they end up learning, but like there's a lot of people with not hundreds of hours in the game, which is fair. But I think Overwatch kind of has a really bloated cast. And not that it's not fun with the bloated cast, but it is a challenge for new players to know everything. I took forever to be even remotely comfortable knowing what the hell is going on, and I'm sure I was super annoying to a lot of people, and I still am most likely because I play Lucio, so of course I'm going to be annoying. But the point is if like you don't need to have 30 something characters to have a game where people need to learn how to play with other classes. You can have just 6 classes and you still need to learn how to play with other classes. It's just that if you compare that to the game that we started talking about, the Back 4 Blood, where there's only 4 characters, or if it's anything like Left 4 Dead, there's only 4 characters. Like, and they don't even
if it's
play
anything like
different.
Left 4 Dead, there's one character.
There's one exactly. There's four characters in the lines that they say.
Yeah, each character has their own special traits.
Oh, they do have some ability.
Yeah, so some people can
That's true.
pick up an ally immediately once every certain amount of seconds. Another person gets plus 10 damage or plus 10%
That's
damage,
true. I
whatever.
forgot about
But picking characters actually is also an important part of building a team, because they all have their own abilities. But yeah, go ahead. But it's still 4.
But it's not as much as it's nowhere near as much as Overwatch takes it.
No.
It's a shooter. But
yeah,
the point is I think if they had 4 healers, 4 DPS, and 4 tanks, and you pick one, and that's it. And if you want to have 2 of the same, of course, the basic concept of Overwatch is the fact that you can't have 2. Well, you can't tend not to be able to have 2 Zaryas playing together or 2 Reinhardts or whatever in the same team. It's kind of weird that
you
that's
can't
a limitation.
pick the same character.
Yeah, it's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, it's kind of weird that it's a limitation because you can have 2 Reinhardts in the battlefield. So it's not I understand why they did it, but
I think
also
you originally
at the same time.
could pick more than one of the same character.
Oh.
I think that was one of the things that changed immediately in the opening months of the game, where they're like, "Oh God, no, too many tracers."
Oh, but that's not true though.
there's a mode.
I think it's
in
literally
arcade
true
for
that they,
There's modes,
changed it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that
There's
when the
modes
game
for
came out, you
everything.
literally could all play the same character if you wanted to, and then they took it out. And then it
right.
became
Yes,
a-
it
and
wasn't
then it became a
2 to 2.
wacky
Yeah, yeah.
arcade mode.
My God, 6 tracers would be a little bit annoying. That's true.
Well, that's the
just a
basis
little
for No
bit.
Limits. No Limits is fun because you can do that. But the problem with No Limits, which people found out very quickly, is that while yeah, there's oh God, no, you can't just have 4 tracers. The problem is that a lot of the time people just pick nonsensical units anyways. It just turns into this
And you're gone.
tanks or whatever. I don't care anymore. I'm done. I'm
Welcome to
gonna
the
keep
podcast.
shit concise.
Welcome to the
It's fine.
podcast where Andrew just randomly cuts out and then he just wants to die.
It'll be fine next week. I'll have a new microphone.
You cut out at it turns into a random, and then yeah, but we got the gist though. It's I don't know. I do think that the biggest threat or the biggest reason for what Andrew is talking about being a problem, and I agree that it is, people not knowing how to play with other characters. It's just that it's too many. It's really a lot of characters. Some of them are really redundant, especially in DPS. Particularly in DPS, a lot of the characters are redundant.
I think there's an endless tug of war between should our multiplayer competitive game have depth or should it just be really accessible? And they're kind of always trying to figure out the in between of those things. And if you look at Overwatch, especially its opening characters, everybody had 2 buttons. There's a certain level of there's an over-designed element to certain characters that came out over time, like Brig and Sigma, where it's they just have a lot of buttons. And originally, if you look at original characters like Zarya and Soldier and Winston and so on, they have 2 buttons. They're almost consistently all the original characters have a very small kit. And to some extent, I think that's because they wanted to make the game as accessible as possible, while it was because they knew it was going to be an incredibly complicated game, even with things being as simple as that with each character, and it is, and it always has been. But yeah, there's an endless back and forth of do you want to make a game really complicated and interesting, because a huge percentage of your audience will never play it correctly and will never learn how to actually do it, and they'll just kind of brute force into it. And then that's where we get all of our community problems with that game, is that people just fundamentally don't even try to learn how a lot of the game, like a huge percentage of the player base thinks that tanks just need to be, they get a big shield and they walk down the main path and you walk behind them and you shoot through the shield at the enemies at their shield, and they're all grouped up behind their shield. And it's there's almost no scenarios where that's a good idea on any map, basically. And even regardless of balancing what the current meta is or whatever, it's almost always been some kind of bad idea. It blew my mind when I went to I went to it once too, but I went to an SVB scrim, or is that the word? Pug, both? Yes, I don't know.
Yeah, I think
organized
it's a
thingy. where you just play with people that just set up a lobby and so on. And it's a whole thing where two teams are like, two people are captains, and then they draft people from the lineup. And then then the moderator, like between matches, will swap people out a little bit based on if one team seems too imbalanced compared to the other one, because they're people from different ranks and so on. And what blew my fucking mind immediately was we went onto like Volskaya, the Russian level, and like like when we defended point 2, nobody was downstairs. Everybody was upstairs, all around the outer like the horseshoe ring of second floor locations. I'm like, this is weird. This is different. And you're like, of course, because like high ground is supposed to be an advantage in any shooter. And you're like, wow, every match I ever play, we pretty much just all group up at like the choke at the entrance to the base and try to defend there on the low ground. And that's like every match I ever play. Like every match I ever play of Overwatch with random people in matchmaking, it's always the easiest strategy, which means you just group up at whatever the choke point is and kind of modify it a bit based on how your character works. And like playing an organized match and seeing how like an evolving group of like people that start having plans work, you're like, oh my god, they use the high ground? Like not just like one guy, like it's not just like, oh wow, Widow's on high ground. It's like, no, everyone's using the high ground, and the tank is Sigma, and they're attacking from the high ground, and they're shielding their teammates, and it's like a fundamentally different thing, to the point where I panicked a little bit, because I was like, how the fuck do I play in this scenario? I've never seen this before. And it was supposed to, and it was funny because I was like, they group you up based on your rank, and so I was like, I was silver, and I was in a match of people from like silver to low plat basically. And like I was like, they're just fundamentally playing differently, even though I could matchmake with people of these ranks and never see this, because even at the time I was matchmaking with Andrew, who was plat, and so we'd be playing in gold lobbies all the time, and I never saw this behavior in hundreds of hours basically. And it's like, what the and it's like, this is the game though, this is how the game's basically supposed to be played, and it doesn't exist in the wild. And you're like, and that's like, what a heartache to like put work into a game and have a cool idea and a vision and all that, and then just like nobody plays it in any way the way it's designed to be. Everyone just plays it in terms of just whatever comes to mind, obviously, and like everyone's hostile to feedback or talking or planning, so nothing, like no complicated plans ever happen. Everyone just runs to the main. Everyone's on Main Street in every map, and no matter what character they are. And like if anyone behaves any way than they think they should, they just yell at them. And it's like everyone has an incredibly restrictive idea of what should be happening, and if you do anything vaguely creative, they lose their mind, and like half the roster is seen as completely unviable because they don't do the exact behavior you expect of like the most easiest like MMORPG behavior of tank with DPS and healers keeping them up and so on, all in a big ball basically. And it's just like, that's not what the game really ever was. And then whenever people talk about the meta, it's stupid, because like I have never been in a match where the game's balance mattered.
That's actually I think the biggest success of Overwatch is that even though the meta is definitely there, it's not a game about meta. It's not a game about that you readily know, okay, I'm going to optimize.
But it is a game where everyone watches YouTube channels that tell them the meta, and then they're like, and then they enforce the perceived meta that they heard about online, even though the thing that they're hearing about is of the supposed meta is just the fucking it's like your Overwatch and some other people talking about how high level players matter because they slightly changed one number on this character, and wow, now he just kicks ass because he does 5% more damage. And it's like, no one on the planet is playing their characters so efficiently that those tiny little like nudges here and there actually change the entire game fundamentally. That's not how silver to plat works. Like there's way more positive and negative to be made up for, that's made up for by how the individuals are playing the characters. Like playing a character you're good at is way better than playing the meta character all the way up until you're actually finally in like, I don't know, Masters or something probably. But the problem is that everyone perceives it that way, and then you get yelled at, and then then everyone gets demoralized because you're playing the wrong character, and like any like, because they have a scapegoat to yell at, now anything that goes wrong they have someone to blame it on, and then they get demoralized and play wrong anyway because like they're now resigned to the fact they're losing because you've stepped one step out of line for what they want you to play as, and you're just like, players, you're failing this game.
I must say that I always the only hate or not only, but the vast majority of hate I see in Overwatch, or I have seen, is directed towards DPS being just, not knowing how to play with the tanks, and people tolerate a lot from DPS, and also like thinking back to our games, Andrew complaining, it usually is about the DPS, although the tanks as well sometimes.
Well, their entire job is to secure kills. That's that's the whole reason that both healers and tanks exist, is to keep them alive, to secure kills. And if they don't do that, why? Yeah.
I do like, that's one of the reasons why I like playing with Lucio, is because I have a little bit more flexibility supporting a lot of the DPS that is a little bit more zany, but also Lucio can kill people pretty fast if I luck out into 3 headshots and a punch when I arrive. But because you jump onto a person, 3 headshots and a punch, immediately you kill them. It is difficult to pull that off, but it's the kind of the jumping around is just, it is such a fun character. But most of I like it. You'd think that Lucio being such a weak healer, I would get a lot of people being like, "Oh, play something else." But usually it's like people just saying there are no healers because Ana is somewhere off sniping the enemy, and I'm like in the middle of the tanks just jumping around and drawing fire. That's the other thing I do a lot, is I draw aggro with Lucio. So I usually get gold, well, at least in silver and gold ranks. I usually get gold for damage taken, and I die
That's
very
not
little.
A medal.
No, but the thing is,
It's not a medal.
It is a medal. I get that medal all the time.
Damage done?
Damage taken. You don't get that medal? Oh, you probably don't.
Damage taken is not a medal.
It's a score. I see that.
And there's no way Lucio would take more damage than the tanks.
I take more damage. I promise you. Usually I take the most damage.
You have so little bandwidth for taking damage. You'll die in only 200.
But I'm a beautiful Lucio. I'm just.
There might be a stat somewhere on the screen for it, but it's not one of the medals.
It might not be a medal. I can't.
You can't get gold on
exactly.
They won't tell you like how you compared with the other characters, so you can't know if you're taking. You're not taking more damage than the tank. That's insane. The tanks get shot so much and healed.
I might be wrong. Yeah, that does. Now that
there's damage done and there's damage healed. You can't. There's no damage taken medal. There's damage shielded medal, which you don't qualify for.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, there's no damage taken medal. That's not an aspirational goal.
I do. But okay, that makes sense. My memories are confused. I haven't played Overwatch since last year. But I do like playing Lucio because jumping around is just, people will shoot at me and they miss because I'm jumping around all the time, and it's good because other people can shoot at the enemy. I can. Yeah, it's a good character. I can't believe they didn't have it from release.
Didn't have what from release?
Lucio
Lucio was at launch.
Was it? Oh,
yeah, he's a launch character.
Yeah, Ana was not.
Yeah, Ana was the first character added like a month in or something. It was originally like Lucio, Zenyatta, and Mercy. There was so little healing, and like the support group more. Included fucking Symmetra, which had no healing.
Torbjorn. I remember you talking about that.
Torbjorn was a defensive character, not a support.
Mm-hmm. They changed that later.
Wasn't like May.
What?
We're in like May and Torbjorn were in the defensive like shield. There was defensive DPS and offensive DPS were 2 separate categories.
But
Symmetra was
started out
literally
as a support because of his shields.
Torbjorn has shields. I thought he only has turrets. I mean, they changed it.
Ana has a sniper rifle.
Yeah, so Torbjorn used to hand out shield packets. Like, he used to throw out shields that people could add. And so I'm pretty sure Torbjorn used to be in the support
I just found the
field.
roster. Badoop. The only supports
From the
were
original?
Lucio, Mercy, Zenyatta, and Symmetra. And Symmetra did
there you
not
go. There are
fit
4 at
there. It
least.
didn't make any sense.
Nope.
Well, she's just there to make the roster
Well, does
look
it-
more even. I'm pretty sure even in her original state of having like some shields or whatever, she never actually fit the like. That's a medical plus sign. Like that is that is she does not fit in whatever you call a support category.
Zenyatta, no, Symmetra, right? Oh my god, yeah, Symmetra
Think
is
about how little healing.
I know you
like that was a
her,
fundamentally
Keith.
different game. Like that's what's worth.
I know you like
considering.
Symmetra, but she's bad for the game.
Symmetra's fucking
say
great,
goodbye.
and I'll fucking choke you. It's really interesting thinking about like I'm talking about how like the game's just gonna be fundamentally different in a few months, and it's just gonna be like there it is, you can't play it anymore. That already happened. Like it is really interesting looking at the original roster. Like there was no Anna, there was no Moira. Like there is no high volume healer in the entire game. There's Lucio's diluted everybody healing, and there's Mercy's single target kind of strong healing where she can't do anything else when she's doing it. Like she just is personally heal bot somebody. And then there's Zenyatta, just like, ow, like set it and forget it.
Mercy is also bad for the game, by the way.
No, Mercy's fucking great. She is
great,
all of your
but-
ideas are bad, and you shouldn't.
I think people. I think the problem with Mercy is that a lot of people don't know how to play Mercy.
So fucking
She's so
fun.
powerful.
Once she registered, once it clicked for me,
yeah.
she became like the funnest character. Which is
I like playing her.
People like
confusing.
her,
She's
yeah.
way too
Well,
powerful.
the problem is people use her too much as a healer,
Yeah,
which
that's
is
true.
not what she's.
because she needs to support. She has to damage boost. Also, we lost you again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that damage boost is like super
It's super
crucial.
powerful,
There's
yeah.
no reason to be holding heal on
And
anybody.
every now
like
and
you,
then,
especially when there's always
little murder.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, and I mean, especially because, like you said, there's high healers now in the game. Like you have Ana and Moira who can just fat stack your healing.
A Moira,
and it's like you don't need
a Moira and,
Yeah.
a Mercy, like that is such a good combination.
Almost every character has too many buttons that they added to the game. It seems there's just a lot. They were like, it seems like when they added, was it like when they added Hamster and they added Anna's fine. She's clearly just a vanilla character they didn't finish yet. You can't make a character that fast. Like they did not make that character post launch. They were just finishing her and be like, oh look, a new character, it'll roll out. Like Anna's like a perfect character to me. Anna's great. Ryan is great. Roadhog's great. Winston's great, and they're gonna ruin him by giving him a railgun. So he's gonna have another button now, and it's like, no, he's so pure.
What? What do you mean he's getting a railgun?
He's getting a railgun. They're giving him a ranged laser, and it's like, what? That's not what Winston is. You're turning him into Brig, where he has a bunch of buttons, like too many buttons.
I thought what's her face was getting a railgun.
You talking about legs? The legs lady?
No,
that we don't know
what-
much about.
Legs
Yeah,
lady?
lady? What? We
She
don't
has-
make her?
Yeah, she has some kind
All
of
the-
railgun type thing, but like Winston's getting like a charge up, like alternate fire that uses more ammo, and it's a long range laser. Like how a bunch of
We
characters
don't
have
make her
alternate fires.
is getting a railgun?
No, there's a new character that we still know basically
Oh,
nothing
there's a new
about.
legs lady.
They keep showing her in like preview videos, but we
I
see
don't-
her do like no abilities. So we're like, what does she do? She just has a gun. What a boring video.
Oh,
No.
I did not anticipate talking about Overwatch. We've been doing it for a while.
eh.
We could talk about
when none of
other
us are
things that
actively
happened.
playing it. But Mercy,
We could-
holy shit, that mobility gets so fun once you stop fucking it up all the time. Like just
Yeah.
zipping between all your characters is addictive. But that's a character where
That's
I'm
why I
like,
like
what do you
Lucy.
do with that character? Like having a character that stops, doesn't do anything but heal and boost people. Like that's like there's an insecurity I feel when I'm doing that in a 6-player match. When it's a 5-player match, that's weird. That's
no,
even
it makes her
larger.
more powerful.
Well, I mean, it's an even larger chunk of the players in your party that are not actively like fighting, and that can fundamentally be like that. She can either be way too powerful, or she can be like a waste. Like how, you have to figure out how to balance that, because like your team has one less person fighting in a match where even fewer people are tanks.
Yeah, that's true. I thought
Yeah,
it would be more powerful, but maybe it isn't. Maybe it
It
is
could be
too much of a
incredibly weak
sacrifice.
to have 2 DPS and a healer versus 2 DPS and 2 healers, especially since,
Yeah.
and I should be accurate, supports. They're not Mercy is usually
Yeah.
a healer more, but does some support stuff too. But like other characters, especially like every other character, is way more offensive than Mercy is. So it's
for sure,
like
for sure.
it's like they're essentially 4 DPS, 2 of which have more utility. And so like it's like 4 DPS versus 3 DPS. Like that's a really big balance change where I don't know how you even balance a character like Mercy. It's like why I like the game so much is like that RPG addiction thing, like the ambition of like in RPG. You know, we talked about how I like RPGs because they're this impossible aspirational thing of trying to replicate D&D, which you can't do, and so they're all going to be broken in different ways. And it's like Overwatch has this impossible goal of having so many fucking characters that are completely different from each other in one like roster, and trying to make that balanced is like a fool's errand. But they made a really cool game in the process. I don't know.
I don't know. Why can't you just called I guess I'm thinking like the Smash Brothers thing. Like Smash Brothers does this. How come this is so difficult?
I mean, is Smash Brothers known for being balanced? I thought it was the opposite. They literally banned several characters.
Ultimate doesn't have any banned characters in tournaments. They're all viable. In older Smash, when there wasn't online updates, they had to ban characters because like, what do you do? What do you do about characters that are like they come out the gate so fundamentally broken and never get patched? But Ultimate doesn't have banned characters because all of the characters, they're not like, I'm not gonna say that they're like perfectly balanced, but way more balanced than Overwatch feels. There's like a lot of times in Overwatch you're
And he's gone.
There's a lot more times in Overwatch.
There's just a lot of times in Overwatch where you can feel that there is an imbalance somewhere, like heavy imbalances. Like I don't know, like Doomfist one-shotting somebody is rough, like every time. It's
especially because it's a difficult character to play, and you know that whoever is playing it and is killing you, they're good.
Well, the problem is like
bit.
it's like it would make sense if Doomfist could like one-shot a DPS character. Okay, fine. You know, like yeah, DPS for DPS. But the fact that he literally can one-shot a healer and a tank that just gets tickled a little bit, and it's like, what the fuck? What do you do about that? What do you do about a character that just?
And he's gone.
Character that just. Oh, he's gone for good now.
Oh no, he's gone for good.
Oh, the destruction that is being wrought upon his hardware.
He's gonna flip over his whole
He's
desk.
smashing. He's going for full Wilson on the whole thing. It's Andrew Wilson. I mean,
Wilson. He's going. Oh, right.
Yeah,
he's
it's
Wilson.
it's Winston. Sorry,
And he's gone.
he's gonna get out.
I can watch it.
back.
It's
He knows.
all right.
He
Yeah,
knows
I
when he's
don't
gone.
think I do not even. No matter what, I don't think I could do Final Fantasy at the end of the day because I don't think my mic's gonna work long enough for me to do it. It's. I'm watching it in real time. I'm watching
Our poor
like
Halloween costumes.
the waveform, right?
I'm watching the.
That doing that.
I'm watching the. So I'm watching the device manager, and the driver just collapses
crashing, right?
and then comes
Yeah.
back. Collapses, then comes back.
Jesus Christ.
It's not the cable. It is the microphone that's dying, and it's fine.
Do you have another shitty microphone?
No, it's all packed away.
Oh, because you're moving, huh?
Yes.
Shit,
So
this is the worst possible timing.
I didn't. Yeah, I
You
didn't.
can't just
plan
pop out a
for
snowball
this.
or some shit.
No. No. Actually, the only available mic I think I do have access to is
Your
my Yeti
phone.
that has the same issue.
Your Yeti also?
Yetis do, yeah.
What?
Yes, my Yeti also is in the. The reason I replaced my Yeti was because it had the problem of, as a USB microphone, it won't keep a steady connection anymore. It just stops.
Weird.
This is why USB mics are bad. This is why you don't use USB microphones. You use XLR cables with sound. It's fine. It's just I made a dumb mistake and I have to suffer for it, and it's fine. I
mean, we're all
replaced
suffering for it.
Yeah, well, that's true. It's fine. I replaced it. A new replacement will be here next month, and it'll be fine.
We can speaking of bad things happening to hardware and software thing, and since we were talking about things that happened in the last 3 weeks, Twitch got hacked.
I'm sorry, how are we able to just get to that whole conversation with nothing going wrong? Whenever we talk about the technical difficulties, nothing goes wrong. But the moment we talk about anything else,
it's fine. It's like
Twitch
it's
got
like
hacked.
when you,
I don't have anything to say about that though.
OBS Studio still doesn't connect properly to Twitch. It's
good riddance.
It's like and it wasn't apparently it wasn't uncovered that they had a do not ban list, where they had a list of streamers who they were just not gonna ban because it was internally defined that they wouldn't, because of course they have this sort of stuff.
It was a little more profitable to keep them around.
Yeah. Of course
right.
they do that.
Yeah. I forgot it was more than just the fact that they got hacked, and it's like, oh no, bad things happening to Twitch. It's like information was revealed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like this sort of stuff. Like people have been saying, like anytime you hear somebody say, oh, they're unfair, they do not ban the big ones, and like even about Google, like recently, I think it was this week, we found out that Google has all these shady business practices within their organization to maximize their it's like insider trading in their ad bots and stuff, so that they basically maximize the ad revenue for their own companies. It's like super shady because they control, like no company is free of this sort of stuff, and of the sort of unfair advantages to certain people, and whether they are the big ones or if they're the companies.
You mean unregulated companies are not bothered by this?
I mean, yeah, unregulated. But the thing is, like, even if they are regulated, they just skirt those regulations. Is skirt the correct word?
And it sounds like you need to tighten your belt and start strangling them more.
We need to separate them. Just make them into separate companies, because that's easy for one.
Are you implying that Alphabet should break up and to just be Google? That would be silly. And
No,
Alphabet
'cause
can't be made up
Alphabet
of one
isn't-
letter.
Alphabet is just a venture capital investment group. At the end of the day, that's what they do, and they have major stakeholds in Google and a bunch of other companies like YouTube. But Alphabet is just a venture capital company. The problem isn't that they have those venture capital or that they have the ownership of Google. The problem is that they all work within the same umbrella. Well, how should I explain it? It's like, I don't know. Maybe it is a problem. Maybe it is a problem that Alphabet owns everything, and it's not just.
I mean, that's always bad.
That's always bad for sure. Yeah.
What
I'm saying is, like, I'm trying to think of things like Amazon, for example. Amazon owns. It's not even Amazon anymore because they also make those groups. Who owns things like? Is it PayPal or is it eBay and PayPal? Am I confusing things? I'm confusing things. I confuse things a lot. So
I'm not too sure what you're trying to.
Yeah, it's complicated, and I don't. You might have just.
Are you talking about you're talking about the like parent and subsidiary relationship between companies? Yeah. You have like Facebook is the parent company, but it has WeChat or WhatsApp and Instagram as subsidiaries of its business. Which is why Facebook is going to be doing the thing that Google did, which is like, hey, there's a new kid in town, and it's called whatever Facebook comes up with. I'm going to call it Zuckworld, and Zuckworld LLC is going to come out here and
Everybody
provide you
hated
with the
that.
best.
Everybody did hate that.
Well, you know what? I also hate Zuckworld, and maybe we should end Zuckworld.
We
but
should stop living in Zuckworld
until someone stops it. But yeah, like Google doing Alphabet was basically to consolidate all of their companies under one umbrella. So that way, when someone goes, "Hey, Google, you can't do that," it's like, "Excuse you, Google is a subsidiary of Alphabet. It is not all encompassing. YouTube is a subsidiary of Alphabet, not Google.
Yeah.
It's not Google's YouTube; it's Alphabet's YouTube. because again, Google's like a bad name now, just like Facebook's a bad name.
But the thing is,
It's
Alphabet
like-
owns shares and owns a bunch of other companies. You don't hear that a lot because it's it's just business news.
But those are all companies that Google owns.
No, but like partially companies, like the I'm under NDA, I can't say anything. But what I mean is, what I mean to say is that venture capitalism, or I think that's just the word. But basically, when companies require funding, they go out and reach out to venture capital investment groups, and which Alphabet is one of them. And they just say, I need this much, or let's evaluate my company and tell me how much you want to pay for whatever shares we want to give you. And they just have their fingers everywhere, which is just, that's regular capitalism. So it's not anything necessarily new, but they don't have the same level of control over those companies as Google has, or as at least Alphabet has over Google and YouTube and analytics and all those stuff. It's AdWords that I meant to say, but still. It's like they own a bunch of things, and you don't think of those things a lot of the time or you don't even know that they're owned by Google, but because it's just a lot, either because it's private deals or because it's just business news. Nobody reads the Washington. What's that big journal that is like enormous and costs a lot of money? That one.
What?
Isn't there a journal?
These conversations are really hard to follow when you don't know the names of any of the things you're talking about.
Are you talking about like the Wall Street Journal?
Yeah, I think that might be the one. Isn't that the one that comes with an addendum that's enormous every day or something?
Is it known for being expensive? Is that what it's known for?
No, it's not. I don't know because I've never.
I don't know if it's expensive. It's pretty cheap for the Wall Street Journal. Are you talking about a scientific or a news?
No. It's just like business news. The people
that's
who
Wall
do
Street
stocks. Yeah, the people who do stocks read this stuff. I'm not a person who does stocks, and I don't read this stuff. I don't know business. It's difficult.
I don't know.
I completely lost the
don't-
thread. What are we talking about?
Bitch bad.
Talking about
and
basically
that was
monopolies are bad, and there should be individual companies for individual companies and not one company that owns multiple individual companies, because that's never an ideal outcome.
Oh, there it goes.
It is not an ideal outcome.
Does it happen whenever he's loud enough? Is that what's happening?
I don't know. Let me test.
There he goes.
It is.
Is it volume? He has to be defeated.
Okay, Andrew.
All right.
It's short as
Can't
hell.
wait
The
to
time
stop
travel-
like this.
The time travel in that 999 game. How did you feel about that?
Fantastic. Nothing makes me more happy than thinking about the time travel in that one game. If there's only
not
one
crashing.
way,
He's not
there's one
crashing the
way I
microphone.
could keep myself alive. It's thinking about just how much joy that game brings me. Nothing
Oh my
can
god, it's based
compare
on
to the
the
amount.
volume.
I have murdered Andrew.
Alternatively,
Oh,
it
it
could
isn't.
be a problem with
It
the
was just
fact that the
coincidence.
microphone just doesn't have actually any signifier for why it kills itself.
There it goes.
There it is.
I was like, it's
Yeah, I
lasting
think
a while.
I think
Randomly dies.
I think it's just the
Do we even upload this podcast?
Yeah, why not? This is
Sure,
this is
fuck
quality entertainment right
It's
here.
either this
is
or there's a whole
quality.
month between episodes.
Quality
No,
entertainment.
we're gonna persevere. We have more things to talk about besides
We can
999.
answer these stupid questions we got. I mean,
Do
great
it.
questions from
Oh, we
our
do?
amazing audience. So we love you.
We do. Oh, I
One
was
of
going
us
to talk about
does.
Metroid Dread that came out, and it's hitting all the hits. Because
What?
that also happened.
Oh, Metroid.
What did I say?
You said Metroid like it's Detroit become human. So it's like, wait, what are we
Oh, I-
talking about?
Yeah, right. I'm sorry. I'm not English. I don't know how these things work.
I have
Metroid,
never
yeah.
heard that one before. That was a new one. What is
that's
sorry?
how
What
I-
was the
I
topic of
pronounce it in
Metroid
Portuguese.
Dread? I didn't follow any of the sentence because I couldn't latch on at first.
I was just saying, like, you asked me very, very early in the podcast, or I think you asked us both, what things have happened in the last 3 weeks, and I just
Many of us played
I
Metroid
noted
Dread.
down what I remembered, and Metroid Dread has come out.
I have not.
Oh, there was just viral shit from dumb people being like, there's like God of War is on so many viral bad takes in both directions all the time. It's exhausting. I'm so tired of hearing about God of War at this rate. But it's like, on one hand, there's people being like, they just recycled the animation of getting in a boat. It's basically the same video game. Like, remember that? And there's all those people like, Thor's fat. Why does he look like Marvel Thor? Why does he look like real Thor, the alcoholic that drank an entire ocean? And the actual, the real lore. Read the real shit, you assholes.
It's not lore.
It's easy. There's only 200
canon.
pages. There's only 200 pages of it. It all got burned by Christians. It's all gone. So there's very little of it. And in it, all he does is eat and murder. So he's probably not thin. He probably doesn't look like Chris Hemsworth. So that was stupid. But then there's people who are like, if they expect me to buy the next God of War, there better be more interactive environments. And they're showing like some guy like slashing at trees and not being able to cut them over. And it's like, really? This is where we're at now? Like, you guys, where's the needle? You guys are mad at the fucking Nintendo 64 trees from Pokemon, but you're also mad that the lovingly rendered super trees in God of War can't be cut down for no reason. Like, what's the point of doing that? But then like the next one is fucking Metroid Dread. There's people like, oh, this is $60 from a Nintendo, and they show like Metroid Dread. And it's like she's fighting a boss in like a foggy environment and doesn't look very detailed, and just fighting a 2D boss fight. And then this is God of War. It is Kratos fighting a super dragon in that one thing, but it's also like showing like the super scripted, basically not interactive part of the fight where you're beating it. And it's like, okay, first of all, Metroid has better gameplay than God of War. Like, God of War is so diluted in its actual video game-ness by all of its dumb cinematic shit that gets in the way of playing it, including its camera being ass, because it only has that camera to look good for boring people. So you're the problem, tweeter. But also, like, you're comparing, like, I've seen it. Metroid Dread also has a handful of like little cinematic takedown moments with some of the bosses. You intentionally compared the static camera that's static so that you can see the game and play it well, versus like, oh, I'm not even playing it, God of War. Like, people are just dishonest shitbags. But it's one of those things where I'm like, you're wrong because you're lying about the thing. Your data is lying, but also you're wrong about what makes things good in the first place. Your goals are bad, but you're also wrong on the way to your goals. It's basically like whenever you encounter it's like the first DLC of Outer Worlds, where I'm like, without spoiling anything specific, it's just like, okay, you guys fucked up at your goal really bad. And so like you're wrong there, but also I don't want to help you fix it because the goal was bad too. Like that's 80% of viral takes on Twitter is people fundamentally playing games for the wrong reasons and being irritating people and having these dumb takes about like it's not cinematic and pixely enough. It's like you're ruining things.
You're ruining things.
You're ruining
That's
everything.
what I've been saying.
Like
since I was a kid.
Like like at this point it's like we've seen it too much, and so it's like I'm tired of seeing it. But at this point I still am happier whenever I see that one meme that's like, I want to see games that look worse and come out slower and where people work fewer hours, and I'm not kidding. And it has like, I don't know, like Sonic or something as the avatar. I don't remember. Like as widely shared as that is,
yes,
I'm still happier.
Notoriously not crunched on games.
I'm still happier
Sonic.
I see that than all these dumb other takes or whatever. Want games?
Yeah, I am totally behind
with worse.
I'm totally behind that. I want to see games that look worse and take longer to make and are less cinematic, honestly. But also
it's an Archie Comics picture. That's what they used for it. Yeah, I want shorter games with worse graphics made by people who are paid more to work less, and I'm not kidding.
Yeah,
that's the one.
Absolutely, it's better games. Those are better games. And if anything, if we have seen, they are better games. Look at the last 10 years and look at what indie game developers have been making. You have on the one hand FIFA and Medan, or whatever how it's pronounced, and Assassin's Creed. I rest my case. And then on the other hand, you have all of the games that are actually popular and leading, like Minecraft and PUBG and Outer Wilds. I mean, Outer Wilds isn't necessarily leading, but they're good. And all the indie games that may not be leading, but are good. Stardew Valley and all that sort of stuff. because AAA affects a lot of people. A lot of people play AAA, but that's not where you get the good video games. Is my take on that. And it's not to say that the indie scene isn't also full of people being exploited for their work, because it is. It's an industry-wide problem, and it needs to be addressed. But what I'm saying is that you don't need to exploit them because the games are difficult to make. You exploit them because that's how you get more money.
God of War 2018 was voted the best game of all time somewhere.
Andrew has a thing to say about that.
God, people are so boring. Like, it's not a horrible game, but Jesus Christ, what a boring outcome. But it was always going to be boring because it's a fucking public poll.
Oh, yeah.
It's the literal lowest common denominator. That's what it is by definition.
I mean, yeah. I think
I think like half the meme is true. Like, I don't care how long the game is, and I don't care how it looks. I just want good games made by people who are paid more to work less.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. I don't really care if your game looks like, a modern masterpiece of realism versus a game that looks like, I don't know, Undertale. But like, it doesn't matter to me as long as it's good, because like,
all these
I don't like Undertale.
Things are just like they just don't actually work even. And if anything, things get creepier. I mean, like, Deltarune makes me feel things, but then I play like Man of Medan, which I have recently with housemates again, and it's like, wow, they sure put a lot of gigabytes into this. My favorite part was when we decided on a whim to play it because the other indie horror game was breaking, so we were like, I can download Man of Medan on the PC, and it's like, well, this will take an hour because it's 60 gigabytes. Fuck you.
Oh my god, it's so enormous.
It's only a couple hours long. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Well, too many graphics. And the only result is that everyone smiles and screams are creepy because their faces are weird. It only makes if it would look like Telltale, it would be more engaging because the characters would be less fucked up looking.
Yeah. I think, and it would probably be a better game because they would have more time to flesh out gameplay mechanics or write a more compelling story. I liked the story of Man of Medan. It wasn't like mind blowing or anything, but I remember it. I remember
I have
Man of
issues
Medan.
with it. I think maybe like this might be another thing like the RPG thing where it's like wow, it's so ambitious or whatever, but like I think Supermassive Games has a bad plan built into their entire idea of how to make games, because they want to make these choose your own adventure horror games, and it's like they're following the formula of Walking Dead, basically. Like Telltale Games is most popular title, and like the thing about Walking Dead is there was only so much permeability in its choices. Like, a lot of the experience was relatively the same, and certain things could change, but usually it wasn't the part where people like died and got eliminated. It was more like, and sometimes it was just like choices that technically wouldn't even affect anything. Like episode 2 opens with, there are this many people at the camp and there are this many items of food. Who should you feed? And it's like, oh shit. And it's like, even if it doesn't affect anything else in the game, there's just this moment of like being there, doing the choice yourself, and feeling responsible for it, and not knowing what it may or may not affect later. Like, that just is a meaningful moment in its own. And like, and Supermassive doesn't really necessarily get that. So they make these games where it's like, wow, anyone could die. And like, it's like, and on one hand, it's like kind of interesting that like, wow, the entire roster of Until Dawn can die. Some of them can die in multiple different ways. And also every one of them can survive. But it's like, I don't know. The more I look at like stuff like Until Dawn, the more I look at stuff like Annihilation and other horror media, it's like characters are supposed to have arcs and like meaningful and like meaningful endings that tie into the rest of the story. And like, you can technically, and like I think Walking Dead does this in some cases, you can write multiple endings that are all meaningful ends to the arc of individual characters. Like when you have characters like in episode 1, there's like the kid, the kind of like fail son kid that's like a pain in the ass, and like Kenny's multiple ways that he ends that chapter and so on. Like, there's different storylines that are differently meaningful, and it's like, okay, these are all meaningful culminations of this whole thing. But then you play like Man of Medan, and it's like the asshole,
Yes.
or the asshole played by Iceman and Animorphs Jake. Like in our playthrough, he escaped and got help, and it's like, oh, okay, it's like he was
like the only one that escaped, I think.
He came back and helped us, and some of us got away or whatever. But like,
right. That's yeah.
But like he escaped on the boat, and it's like, okay, there's like an aspect of like he was this asshole that was irresponsible and fucking things up for everybody, and then he escapes, and then there's this kind of back and forth tension of like, oh, okay, so maybe he's just still an asshole and he's just looking out for himself and he just got away and now we're all fucked. Or maybe he's like, oh fuck, this is kind of my fault and I need to take responsibility, and he's going to come back with help and like actually save the day or something. And it's like, that's kind of meaningful. But and differently, like I think he might be able to get killed on the boat. He might be able to get killed confronting them. I think. I'm not sure. There's a lot of options or whatever, and it's like, that could be him being like the guy that caused all this, and then he the kind of guy that gets his just desserts and gets fucked up immediately as a result of his own actions to some extent. Or it could be like, oh man, he tried to stand up for them and save his friends from his own mistakes or whatever, and then he got shot or whatever the fuck. I think he might be able to die at the beginning of the game. But what happened is Stephanie was playing as him, and he tried to escape, but she didn't. She's really, really bad at QuickTime events because she doesn't know the buttons on any platform, basically. So she can't play the game really. So he immediately fucked up and fell over on the boat. And I thought they were just going to shoot him, but I guess they captured him. So he's just with the rest of the crew. So when everyone's on the ghost ship later, he's with us. And I'm like, I didn't even know this was an option. I thought he had to either die or escape at the beginning. I've never seen any playthrough where he's actually like, he's just another dude with everybody else. So all the scenes are actually rewritten to have him in them. And I'm like, that's kind of cool. But what happened is he just randomly gets haunted by some evil nurse lady or whatever. Like he gets separated from the entire party out of nowhere. And like no one knows where he went. And then suddenly later on you see him in nowhere getting attacked by a ghost nurse or something, and it's like the one from the trailer. It's like, oh, that's where she is. I never saw her. And like once again, Stephanie sucks at the QTEs, so she fucked up and died. And it's like, okay, how is this a meaningful end to this character? How is this? Yeah. This isn't storytelling. Like this is trash. Like the random asshole that kind of caused all this, he just kind of like vanishes for no reason, is in random hallways, because once you're on the ship in that game, they can just magically teleport you around like it's the woods in my, like I talked about in the Annihilation essay. Like it's the same rules where everyone's teleporting around and you can use it as a device to tell any story you want and test the people. And it's like, it's one.
That was really confusing, by the way. That was a really confusing area. The woods or the ship in there.
Oh no, because it's exactly like what I talk about, where with like bad stuff happening in the woods. Like that ship is the same thing. It's a completely magical space where everyone can just be anywhere. You're inherently are like, where are they on the ship? It's like, it doesn't matter. There is no internal logic to the ship. People are just in hallways, and they happen to be with whoever they happen to be with out of the existing characters or alone, and they happen to encounter enemies. And it's just like it's a space where you can do anything. But the problem is that like, if he gets attacked randomly and then survives, then it's like, oh wow, what a spooky little set piece. But like, if he gets attacked in that part and then dies because you fuck up the QTEs, which of course, like if you fucked up, you had to get, in order to get there, you had to fuck up QTEs. So there's a high chance you will fuck up QTEs there too. He just dies, and you're like, that's not a narrative. That didn't go anywhere. No, that wasn't a culmination of anything that was set up in the game. A ghost that just showed up in this scene only randomly killed him, and now a character's just out and no one will mention him again. And it's like, that's not, he was one of the main characters. He didn't have an arc. There's no payoff. That wasn't like just desserts or irony or anything.
Yeah, but that's just a problem of I think it's specifically related to QTEs as a mechanic. If they made them all disappear from the world, everything would be better.
Well, it's not even just QTEs. It's like, because there's an element of like that being like an engaging thing of like, it can like affect like how tired your characters are or this or that element, or it can just kind of make it feel engaging because you don't know which ones will matter or not to some extent, and you're like, oh man, I gotta get involved, don't fuck it up. But like, yeah, you gotta like plan all of your outcomes as being equally valid, and that's what I think Supermassive Games fails at, is that they don't plan for every ending of every character being an equally meaningful ending. They're just a bunch of random bullshit ones, and then like one maybe that kind of is the point of that character. And so as a result, if you look at the reviews for all of the games in this trilogy, because there's 3 of them out now,
it's not very good.
I'm behind, but they're all really bad reviews, and it's like, because most people's experiences with these games is that the story sucks. And it's like, the story sucks because like they probably only wrote like one good through line per character, and nobody experiences those. Especially they especially don't get to experience like all the good, meaningful outcomes of every character in the same playthrough. Like you never get Annihilation. You never get Annihilation where every single character has a really specific path through, and that's a through line of each character, and there's like themes going on. It's like, no, because they're doing they're proving Ebert right a little bit. Because he was like, it's not, art doesn't work because it's interactive or whatever. Like that argument that he threw out there that was dumb or whatever. But like this, playing Man of Medan with different people and seeing the different outcomes, I'm like, this is mostly, it's exactly what he was saying, basically. It's like, by letting people interact and not, it's like, it's not because he was right because it was a good argument, but it was because these people just don't actually put the work in to make each different outcome equally meaningful. So you just have this trash story for most playthroughs, and it's like, if you give people a trash story, they're not going to be like, wow, now I'm going to replay it and see if I can get a good story eventually. Like, not a good outcome, but a good story. Mess. I don't know how we got here.
We were complaining about things, and then we started talking about RPGs.
That's all we're doing.
It's always video
we started talking.
games.
That's another bingo thing. We started talking about RPGs, and Andrew goes quiet.
It's not an RPG.
Either that or his microphone. It's not an RPG. I mean, it kind of is, though, in the sense that if you detach yourself from everything and all that you know loses any meaning, it is an RPG.
And the way that Pac-Man's a survival horror. No, I've been here before. I've done the argument of like I've said before, like Telltale's games are better RPGs than Final Fantasy. Because in Final Fantasy, I think there's no role playing, and you do literally role play in these other games. It's just that they're definitely
a little, at least you have choices, and But I think
Telltale did a weird thing where they started as point and click adventure games, and then the cutscenes started taking over the entire game until they just became Walking Dead. They just became Mass Effect cutscenes as a whole game.
I mean, also they were a sucky company that exploited their workers.
But that's just Tuesday.
That's just
It's so exhausting.
I hold Men of Medan.
I'm about ready to go back to Overwatch and just be like, fuck it, because like it's not like anything else I'm consuming was ethically made.
Oh, speaking of unethically made,
how do you? There's no such there's basically no such thing as ethically made art that's mass available. There's just the ones that you know about, and the ones that are blind sides that you just that everyone knows about, but you just don't know about, and you don't really want to look any closer. And then there's just the stuff that's just waiting to come out.
Speaking of unethically made, Ubisoft, the also rape company, who have also been involved in a bunch of accusations about rape and sexual assault and all that.
They apologized. Could you please?
They sent a very solemn JPEG a few months back when that all came out. Apparently, they're not doing anything about their internal culture, and they just hired a new
very solemn
director.
JPEG.
They hired a new creative director who is who was directly responsible for the people who were accused of bad things. So that's also nice for Ubisoft. That's a thing that happened in the last couple of weeks.
That sounds about right. That's good.
Speaking of unethical, do you know a Genshin Impact?
Oh, what?
Great.
They were going to have an Elon Musk event, apparently.
Why?
I only skimmed the headlines, and it's been a couple of weeks, and so I don't remember exactly. I know they canceled it. That's how I knew about it. They canceled Genshin Impact was going to have. Apparently, Genshin Impact has events, so I don't know how that works, but it is a thing that in modern video games and kids these days and all that.
We can't talk about Genshin Impact. That's how we got the most dislikes ever in the history of the podcast, is daring to not like Genshin Impact. My God.
Oh, but Keith, let's join not liking Genshin Impact with not liking Elon Musk. Let's all get over
our
dislikes.
Powers combined. I mean, we did the last episode was Grimes.
Oh, the people. Do people like Grimes more than Elon Musk?
Well, I mean, we don't like Grimes in part because of Elon Musk. That was part of the narrative. It's like, I am leaving Elon Musk and looking at Marx, but not really.
Not really.
And also not really leaving. They're maybe divorced, but they're staying together or something.
That's how millionaires do. You know how it is. I mean, if I were married to a millionaire, I also would divorce them and stay together, or vice versa. Wait, maybe the other way around is better. Yeah, I probably would not divorce them and not stay together. That's probably better.
I'm confused.
I don't know how to navigate any of this. It's very difficult. Andrew,
Yeah,
how would you marry a millionaire?
Big mood. Kill
I
him.
mean, yeah, you would never not kill a rich person you marry. That's
It's
like
the,
a really
oops,
dumb.
I accidentally married an axe murderer, but every millionaire.
Self-defense.
Yeah,
I self-defense
or-
them in the.
It depends. So it depends on how rich they are. You could go. You normally want to go the Black Widow route, where you just marry and then kill and then take their wealth. But
Fuck,
but
marry,
remember, it's
and
like
kill. Same person. All three answers.
yeah, exactly. But you run into the risk of running out of money because but them being dead.
People
and
thought it
all.
was a funny game, but it's actually instructions.
Would you
Yeah,
run out
yeah.
of money out of $1 million? I know I would run out. I know how to run out of money if I got $1 million. But would you?
Yeah,
Really?
you just
I
buy
would run
every
out-
NFT as fast as possible.
Well, no, you
Oh,
would make
no,
more
no.
money that way because then you could sell
No,
it
you
back.
wouldn't.
And make like
You
double.
literally wouldn't, because it's all imaginary shit.
You would. What you would do
Shit
is you
is
would fund
cringe.
human trafficking and drug cartels and stuff
God,
like that.
I
because
you
know
that
already
people
do
that are
that
into
now.
NFTs, and it's
That's-
so hard talking to them.
Why?
They're
Just
so-
why do you talk to them?
They're just so
Stop talking to
excited
them.
about it, and I'm just like, what the fuck?
That's like people in MLMs and stuff. It's like you of course they're excited. It's a
I'm just
freaking
like, what the fuck is
brainwash
up with
kind
these
of thing.
people? I'm so
Oh
confused.
yeah, it's people thinking that they're at the top of the pyramid when they're already at the bottom. And
It
they
is a
don't know
trip
it
not
to
a
yet.
walk into a
pyramid,
room of
it's an
somebody
inverted
listening to
triangle.
like fucking like YouTube videos about NFTs and like getting in on the ground floor, or like designing your weird shit. I had the experience of looking on Twitter and seeing like the half-assed apology of somebody's aborted NFT like fictional universe or whatever the fuck that they had set up, because that's the thing that people do apparently. And then the same day being in a car with somebody pitching me their NFT fictional universe, and I'm like, why is this happening so much? Why are they
What
all
is the world even?
Why are they all worlds now? I don't understand
Oh
this
my God.
universe.
Oh, speaking of NFTs, because
They're
we're talking about
everywhere.
the worst things. Apparently, Epic Store will accept NFTs or whatever that means. And
What?
so
you mean Ethereum? Like they'll accept
maybe.
Ethereum? Like
The
NFTs aren't actually a currency. You buy
Well,
NFTs.
they're talking
with
about
Ethereum.
NFT video games, I think.
NFT video games. That's the one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it is. I was.
Is there-
I-
Oh,
There's-
because Steam didn't allow NFT video
Steam-
games.
yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andrew. You're
I think that the
completely-
idea is that NFTs are like tied to elements of the game or something.
It's a scam.
Oh,
It's a
yes.
scam. It's literally a
baffling.
scam. And like all of scams, you can
Uh,
actually make money because if you
but-
know that's what
but-
scams are for.
I
But
don't know.
It's
There's
still
like
a scam.
this. There's this like part of me that it's frustrating because there's like a part of me that thinks it's fine. I have no issue with it because like it's just it's
not-
people that
yeah.
it's people that are self-destructing. Like I'm smart enough to know it's not a smart idea. Like it's not like the writing on the wall is so obvious it hurts. Like you look at it and go, "Ah, yes, I see. You wrote scam in big red font. Is that supposed to have
And he's gone.
Is that supposed to have made me want to get my wallet out and do something? But for some people, they obviously look at it and go like, "Oh, this sounds like a reasonable business opportunity." And
I just
like,
I don't
it's-
understand.
But
Like I've seen so many people talk about it in real life and online, and like you'll have like Phil DeFranco will randomly mention it for some reason, and every time, what I'm always amazed by is how no one says anything about it. They don't say anything. They
well,
just
opinions
word
don't make you
soup the
money on
vague-
NFT
it's-
markets.
It's 100% sounds like it sounds like people talking about the cloud too much, like 10 years ago or whatever. And you're just like, okay, what do you think the cloud is? What is any of this? And then like, yeah, 5 years ago, people just randomly would say blockchain at random intervals without ever elaborating or what anything was supposed to mean. And now people just say NFTs and how they're such an opportunity or something. And like, there's never a discussion of
And
what it's
yeah.
for or who it's for or what it does or why you want it. Like there's no selling. There's no like, oh, here's a car, it does this and stuff. It's like NFTs or, you know, it's an opportunity. It's so wow, what a
it's like
way of the future.
the
And they
idea-
just say those on loop for like at this point years without ever going any further. And it's like how no one knows.
'cause,
It's like
that's
everyone's
the thing
afraid.
is-
It's like Emperor's New Clothes shit. Everyone's afraid to admit they don't know what the fuck it is.
It's not, but I don't think it's that they don't want to admit that they don't know what it is. I think the problem is that there's nothing there.
Exactly.
Like you can't reasonably sell something that doesn't exist.
Well, there's nothing
Like,
there,
you know,
but there's the feeling of importance because too many people talked about it so much. So
That's
everyone
the
wants to
thing, yeah.
vaguely mention it and sound approving of it because they're like vaguely. It's like everyone's like temporarily embarrassed billionaires. Like everyone wants the chance of maybe somehow profiting off of this thing while still never gaining any understanding of what it is and never proving that it actually is a thing that deserves to exist in any way. They just kind of loop at step one of the process forever.
Yeah. Well,
The
and it
thing
doesn't
is-
help that you get like a lot of ire if you kind of push against the grain here. Like there's always, you see a bunch of like really funny tweets of people saying like, man, I could buy a nice meal or I could buy a stupid pixel ape, and then someone with a pixel ape icon is like, what's wrong with NFTs? And it's like like I don't know, man. I
Is it Pixel 8
it-
NFT? I thought it was a phone.
well, there's a million of
Pixel 8
them.
is might be
No,
a phone in the future.
okay,
What's
so
a-
for NFTs,
what's a
there's a
Pixel
whole
8?
thing. So there's no Pixel Ape.
Oh, okay. I was like, didn't the Pixel 8 just come out? So I was like, what are you talking about?
No, it's
No,
the
no,
6
no,
or
the-
something.
Yeah, the
Before, or
Yeah,
six just
pixelated
came out.
ape, man.
yeah,
A
there's-
lazy
it's
ape or
because-
whatever. Gorillas.
Yeah, because the idea that there's like a bunch of avatars, and I'll admit the creation of these avatars is interesting. Like there's a lot of math and a lot of creativity that is involved in creating these like randomly generating.
Yeah, but we already had
avatars.
these before NFTs. That isn't actually related to
No,
NFTs in its own
So-
way, really.
And again, I don't care about the money part. That's boring and a non sequitur. I'm only interested in the process to
Non-sequitur.
create them. Because like it doesn't
Oh,
matter
I see.
what you do once they're created. I don't care about that because it's not boring. It's not interesting. But like it's interesting to see the like using algorithms to create these varying different designs and like being able to
Picroos,
inject
that's what they used to be called.
Picroos. Well, it's a little bit, again, it's more complicated than that, and that's why it's interesting. Is like there's a lot going on.
Oh, there it goes.
There's a lot
and-
of ones.
Are NFT avatars any different from Picroos?
Yes, very much so.
Isn't it just
there can-
2D art that's modular?
No, so it is 2D art that's modular but also unique. You cannot recreate the same 2D art.
How is that even possible? Just take a print
I
screen.
mean, that's not
and
that
that's
interesting.
like
It just sounds like a
that's
fucking
the recreation.
roguelike seed generator, but you're just every time it comes up with the same number again, it's like, no, you can't. Stop it.
it's
Again.
Gaussian blur.
Again, it's not about creating the avatars. It's not like that. That is just a byproduct. That's like saying I'm really interested in nuclear waste. No, you're not.
Yeah.
You're interested in what nuclear energy creates, not the waste byproduct. And,
I see.
And so like the NFTs are just nuclear waste. It's just this shitty byproduct of like an interesting using programmatic languages to create unique and interesting things. But then people turn around
But
and
that's
just
the
sell them for money.
blockchain thing. That's what
Well,
blockchain is.
Sure, sure.
right?
Like you can, well, no, but so this is external to the blockchain.
I mean, that's all they did.
The idea
They just took
Oh.
a Picroot avatar generator and hooked up a seed generator to it. It's not very
It's
interesting.
kind of like that, as far as I
It's-
can tell.
They took
It's
something
more interesting-
customizable and made it random, which makes it shittier.
well, yes,
and also
no,
took something that was
it's-
free and made it cost money, which also makes it shittier.
Well, yeah, but it's so if you have to remove the aspect that like people are interested in this for the money aspect, like for the buying aspect. It's like again, it's more interesting just thinking about the fact that someone was able to create like to take hundreds and thousands of assets and assign them values and then have a computer generate a product using those values and then being able to differentiate that product has already been made versus the hundreds of other generations it will make. Like that is interesting and useful for things like the future. Like we can use that in creating new like items in games or creating things like that.
I'm sorry. That's
But-
not
but
interesting.
again,
It's not interesting
That's
at all.
like that's a super geeky, and I realize it is
but
mathematical. On
I'm not
an
saying
engineering
that it's
level,
like-
it's interesting. But like
That's what
none
that's
of
what
the
I'm
people.
saying. That's all I'm saying. It's interesting
okay.
on an engineering plain as fucking point. It's interesting like a fucking scientific journal is interesting.
Doesn't even sound
Yeah.
hard to make.
That's how. Well,
It's complicated.
It
because
is
you have to
complicated
take
to
into
make.
It just
account-
sounds like a randomized seed, but don't
No,
redo
but
anything. Just don't
a
it's
repeat.
randomized
not.
seed can
No,
repeat
it's-
itself.
Yeah,
Yes,
just
and
so
that's
you
the
just
issue.
check a table once when you just generate
No,
random
but
things,
no,
and then every time you
no,
generate something, you're like, "Have we done this one before?" No, okay.
That's true, but like the
Wow,
solutions that you
interesting.
come
I can do
to-
that with Excel, and I don't even know
No, no.
what good do make.
the solutions, the mathematical solutions and theorems that you come to when you try to add that extra complication of never repeating. That's how blockchain works. The mathematical equations that come out of that, they're
Also,
they're
no one
interesting.
cares about the art enough for anyone to even notice if they repeat.
Also, that, but the thing
No.
is, none
Again,
of the billionaires.
again,
checking.
you are your head is stuck firmly in the NFT portion, and you need to ignore it. The NFT
Yeah,
portion
it's-
is
yeah.
literally all a ruse. It is there to just
It's
be
a scam. It's
a.
a scam.
The only reason for the NFT part is to fund this progress. That, if you want to put it that way, you're just scamming.
It's just pick
Oh
room.
my god. It's Keith. It's not about the images you make. That's the point. That's the point you're missing here. It's not about the stupid fucking pickaroo. The pickaroo thing is just the toxic waste. That's not relevant. The important part
But that's
is
where
that you've
people pay
created
money
you've
to.
created an algorithm that can take hundreds and thousands of assets in varying different positions and take all of those varying assets and remember that it used them already to create one final product, and thus it can reference those assets on those product or on that final product against millions of other assets on millions of other products and
It's-
being able to tell you if there's a duplication. Again, this is like the most boring fucking thing, but it's really interesting from an engineering standpoint, and that's it. If you just cut out, if you replace this with anything else, you could replace this with fucking like humans. You can literally, like, every single human on the planet is a value, and like it doesn't matter what you pick as the value. All that matters is the math equation. Like that's all
But the
that
thing
matters.
is, I think what
I don't see how
Keith-
return if duplicate is progress.
Yeah, the point Keith is
It's-
making.
We've
I
always
think
had
it-
this. This isn't even
It
new
is not- that's-
technology.
No,
We've always been
it's-
able to do this.
No, we haven't. First of all, and
No,
secondly,
yeah.
this is different than what you're thinking of. This isn't, again.
But it's not a better solution though. Like
It's not about being a better solution. It's just
no,
creating
yeah,
a thing.
I know.
That's all you're doing.
I know.
Jesus
What I'm
Christ.
saying is the application of this very interesting engineering problem, the skipping of a very easy step and making it super complicated, which is what this is. But the result isn't beneficial. Like, we don't know or have
It
any
doesn't-
idea why this
It doesn't need to be. I don't care if it's
It isn't,
beneficial.
yeah.
It's irrelevant to me.
But
It's-
that's worth pointing out, though. Like, all of the big,
What is the
big
point
chain.
of any of this?
What is the
all
point
of
of
it-
You
anything,
can't
Keith?
be like
What-
you don't get it, and then also being like, also it's pointless. Fuck you.
No,
It's
I'm
pointless,
not saying.
and
I'm not
it
saying you
doesn't
don't get it.
have applications.
I'm saying that you're focusing too much on a part that isn't relevant to the entire.
Well, then you're
purpose.
explaining
And-
it badly.
Well, yes,
No, I
I
think
am.
I-
I don't. I'm
No,
not,
I think
this,
you're explaining
this
it well.
isn't. This isn't my field of expertise. I'm not a fucking mathematician, and I'm not a fucking programmatic mathematician. That's not my fucking career. I'm
Like,
just
for
telling
example-
you that the NFT thing is all just a wool over your eyes to make you interested in this really, really, really hyper niche, boring fucking thing. That's it.
I don't
Just-
think that's what anyone's invested in.
No, it isn't.
You're
They're just
stating a
paying for the
weird
pictures.
intent that I don't think exists.
No, but I think it might exist from some people, but nobody involved
NFTs
in
are not an
business
elaborate
cares.
scam, so one person can make one fun algorithm for their own amusement.
No, I'm saying that it's
It's what you're saying.
specifically. Sorry,
it
specifically
is
the
Literally
avatar
wool
NFTs.
pulled over my eyes.
Yes, specifically the
sheeple.
NFT. Yes, just like sheeple. The NFT avatar thing, creation thing, that whole business of creating stupid, dumb, fucking NFT avatars is all for this equation. That's it. The other stuff, the other
It's
people
just
like going
somebody,
around
like
stealing.
popping into World of Warcraft and being like, make a night elf, and then there's like, okay, now make as many night elves as you can before any of them are literally the same. Keep changing the hair color and the skin color and the ears slightly until every combination exists, and like, there we go, that's all the night elves.
That's more or less how it works. Yes.
Yes, because pickers are just character creators. They're the same thing. You just toggle some bullshit.
And
You just
now-
cycle
now you
through
need to-
this. Here's
and-
eyebrows 17. Here's eyebrows 18. That's it. That's the whole thing.
And so remember, then you need to assign each creation to the blockchain, and you need to be able to validate that creation has been made, so that it can't be
is easier,
remade.
though.
It's just having a serial number
right?
with extra steps. It's not. It's not.
Yeah,
It's
the
nothing.
validation is the
This
easy
is basic
part.
shit. Give me time. I could make this. I wouldn't want to,
Look,
but it's
there
like
are
it's
machines-
it's not that fucking complicated. I
There
just
are
wouldn't know, I
machines-
wouldn't know how to like make it interact with the blockchain, but I could create a fucking catalog
There's
of all the
a-
unique
there's
things with
sites
serial
for that.
numbers.
There's
Yes,
websites for
that's
There's there
not
are
the
machines
hard
out
part.
there. There's machines out there trying to find out what the biggest yet unknown number that's a prime number. There's computers making those calculations, trying to find the biggest prime number yet. And that stuff is geeky as hell.
and it's
just
also
like,
the
oh, look,
biggest fucking human waste of time.
but
Like,
it isn't
it contributes fucking nothing to society.
Prime numbers are
We
super
will not-
important.
Humanity will fucking be fine without knowing the biggest prime number. I fucking assure you.
There's no biggest
that
prime number.
human.
That's always
I'm
more.
And I'm telling you that there is no amount of fucks to give in math that will matter to the human survival. None.
I think that's
zero.
not true.
Absolutely zero.
The thing
I
whose
don't think that's
byproduct is apparently toxic waste is interesting
Yes.
and engaging, but
I'm
large
saying-
prime numbers, literal waste of time. How dare you be interested in that?
I'm following the logic here. If that is a waste of time, then there
No,
is
prime numbers are
no
good.
necessity here.
Because they
Prime
learn
numbers
a
are
lot
good
about
for
prime.
who?
They learn a lot. Mathematicians learn a lot about maths from prime numbers.
Okay.
Andrew's just
maths are
fucking
good
flipping
because
the
you
light
can-
switch until everyone gives up.
Maths are good 'cause-
I'm arguing that like this is I don't understand how one of these things is more important than the other when they're both fundamentally the exact same amount of boring.
No, neither of them
Like,
are
they are-
important.
Yeah,
the
that's the, point I'm
prime
making.
numbers are important.
No, they're not.
They are. They're statistical tools. They're incredibly
literally
powerful.
not important. This is
They're very-
no.
They're very. Did you
Jeez,
know that we know
need
all
to
of the
start
prime
over
numbers?
and make a new podcast. We talked about Overwatch for an hour, a
Yes.
game no one's playing, none, including us, and now we're just talking about NFTs without any of us actually knowing what we're talking about for the next hour.
Okay. Oh, you
Well,
want to
for the
talk?
rest
You
of
want to
it-
talk
for the
about a
rest of
game
it,
that
if-
people are playing? Minecraft will release frogs in the next update. How about
Oh
that?
my
Everybody's
God,
playing
frogs.
Minecraft.
I
They're
think
adorable.
Minecraft's also doing an NFT.
Oh no, they're not. They would have definitely been doing that
I mean,
if it
they're
was not.
Microsoft.
Okay, that's fair actually.
Yeah, so Minecraft NFTs are coming
You're not kidding?
soon. Yeah, no, I'm not kidding. Why would I be kidding? It's,
Are you-
it's
I didn't see anything about that.
I mean,
Do you think I
in
kid?
theory, so one of the nice things about NFTs is that it's high scamability. So one of the great things is that a lot of games, like that's why Steam stopped it early, is that a lot of games are going to start selling.
Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah, they're
So-
scams basically.
So yeah, so the nice thing is that like, a lot of games are going to start selling weapons and cosmetics and things as NFTs in game, and that's going to be amazing because it like continues to whittle down the
It is
amount
not
of
gonna be amazing.
Oh yeah, it's going to be fantastic. It's the same way that DLC became fantastic, is that it's going to keep whittling down until it gets to a point where like even the most bare minimum functions of video games are like NFTs. So like, oh, you want like big head mode? That's an NFT. Only one person gets that, and they're the only person in the world that gets to play big head mode in your video game. Meanwhile, there'll be like people who just go and like reverse engineer the game and upload it online with all of the features unlocked. And it will be silly, and we'll get to watch a bunch of people having like this weird self-inflated ego about having access to this unique game mode that only they have, but then like don't turn around and see that everyone just downloaded a copy and have access to that. Is like that there. There you go, Keith. I explained NFTs to you perfectly. That is literally
Microsoft-
how NFTs work. It's
I mean,
it's children.
I know the
who
stupid parts
have-
of it.
That's the
Microsoft
only
is really
parts
bad,
of
but
it.
they're not going to do that. This is a lie. Andrew is lying.
I'm always just baffled by the inability to justify their existence, and then the people's talking about them inability to process the fact that they can't justify their existence.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's how MLMs work.
A little.
Why do I need to buy makeup from you specifically? Isn't there makeup like all around the world at every like convenience store I can go
Cheaper
to?
makeup.
That's
No,
not.
because
That's makeup is a product.
because
This is not a. This argument doesn't hold water. This is not.
No, I mean,
you can't be
okay,
like it's just like
MLMs.
makeup because you could sell it other places. That's not what. That doesn't. That's not a counter. That's not a argument for
That's not-
NFTs.
that's the non sequitur. Aha!
You can't
got
compare.
it.
You can't. That's not an argument for or against NFTs. There's not this. They're not comparable. This is not how it works. NFT. It gives NFTs too much credit by pretending that they're a product that does anything or even exists uniquely, which is its core argument, which isn't true.
Yeah.
but
Mm-hmm.
okay, never mind.
You-
I guess there's no point to explain it, but all right.
Well, you just can't.
I think you
I
explained
mean, I'm
it
engaging
right.
with what you're saying, and you're not. The thing you're saying doesn't work.
So the point I'm making is there's a lot of MLMs that sell makeup that is just rebranding of makeup you can already buy. That's the whole scheme, is that they sell makeup that already exists in stores you can go buy right now.
Oh yeah,
that
like
is
generic
not
brand
labeled.
versus
Yes,
name
like
brand.
generic brand.
yeah.
And so NFTs are in a sense the same way, where you're not buying anything unique. You're just buying a thing.
You're paying more
Just
for
buy
a
a
thing
thing.
that you can
Yeah.
get elsewhere.
Like
Yeah.
that's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, I misunderstood that as well.
It's whatever. The point is that the whole thing's just stupid, and I'm tired of it. I'm over it. At this point, I really hope that everyone adopts it so it destroys the planet faster and we just get off of this fucking train ride. Like, God, please consume all the Earth's energy and just plummet this fucking ball into death. Like, I'm so over it. I'm so tired of, like, every week is some new catastrophic issue that's just going to keep barreling into, like, I don't know, stage 4 capitalism. We haven't even figured. We just we
Stage
haven't.
4
We didn't even
capitalism.
know. It's like the 4th dimension. We don't know what it looks like, but apparently
metastasizes.
we're,
Or decapitalism.
Andrew,
If-
we're already at
exactly.
stage 4 capitalism.
I believe it. You can say that, and I'll believe it, because at this point, I cannot tell that. I can't even tell the difference. People can't even tell the difference between capitalism, socialism, and communism. You're telling people can tell the difference between stage 1, 2, and 3 capitalism? No, it's not. It's not true. It's all made up. This is a dumb game, and I'm done with it. I'm done with the game. I'm over it. Just keep doing your NFTs. Enjoy it. Have fun. Keep selling them. I hope it fucking burns a hole through every fucking space station on Earth. I don't know.
There's no PlayStations. Nobody can buy them.
Like, what is the?
They're all
Yeah,
making
because-
they're all
because-
making Bitcoin.
Because every card needs to be created to make more Bitcoins, and every Bitcoin needs to exist so that people can buy cars, but cars can't be bought because they need chips that are being used for Bitcoins, and just it's all dumb and bad, and it's great at the
I
same time.
apologize to forever saying Zero Escape had plot holes when real life has NFTs.
No, what are you
Never
talking
anticipate how
about?
dumb reality
Like-
is going going to be.
I
No,
never
I'm tired of
underestimate
this
reality.
topic. We've gone nowhere. This is a huge waste of time.
Yes, we did it.
We're just-
Perfectly
'cause we-
described.
Just weirdly
describing-
kind
You know
of
what I-
arguing with Andrew, who's also like walking backwards in a circle and never committing to any stance. So he like moves what he's talking about without saying he's doing it.
No,
so
my stance.
We're just talking
my
about
stance is
nothing for an
still-
hour.
My
Let me
stance
tell
is still
you
the same,
something,
in that
though.
I like the boring technical.
He's out and he's gone.
Oh, microphone,
I
technical
don't-
issues.
Technical
Alright.
difficulties. Ha.
Moving on. Anyways,
Kill me.
Do you know what I paid €4 for last week?
a toothbrush?
Honey cakes.
Honey cakes would be a nice spending of €4.
What else would I
fortunately,
guess?
I bought a Steam Deck thing, or a pre-order Steam Deck thing, and
Well, you
I'm
still have
really
to
excited for
buy
that thing.
You still have to buy the full Steam Deck.
Oh yeah, I'm buying it when.
What a
it's
disappointing
available, but
thing to say you paid for. I paid for a pre-order.
I paid for. I mean, you have to, otherwise you
the
don't get it. as
token
early.
pre-order, like foot in
Otherwise,
the
you
door
don't
part.
get it.
I was waiting. Yeah,
I paid for
I
an
was waiting
almost
for-
product that I might get one day.
That's how they
I-
get you.
That is how they. Yeah, that's why I wanted to discuss it. Because I didn't want to buy it without knowing anything. But then Steam really, I think it might have happened in the last 3 weeks as well. So it's all on theme for us to talk about. Steam released the video where they disassemble the Steam Deck and show what's inside, which is important if you want to, not just pay for a product that's going to last 2 years.
You feel confident in buying a product after someone broke the product.
Yeah.
Well, he was happy to see that you can replace things in it and repair it, which you usually aren't allowed to do with basically any consumer product.
Mm-hmm. So I decided,
This PS4 has an incredibly easy solution to the widespread problem that everyone's facing. Well, if you touch it, fuck you. Warranty's off.
It's better than that, though. I decided, you know what? I work from home and don't have mostly any friends in real life. So in, meet space. And I'm always locked up in my room. Let me buy this portable PC. And I did it. I mean, I didn't. I bought the pre-order, but still, I'm going to get it.
Womp womp.
I don't know. At this point, I'm just eagerly awaiting for Steam to collapse and everyone loses their games and I get to watch like the panic set
I just don't care about the deck because I don't care about handhelds.
Yeah,
that too. I don't live a life that needs handhelds.
Yeah.
Neither do I, but it's
there's just better toys I'd buy if I just want a toy like a drawing tablet or something. The Steam,
I have one of those already.
The handheld video games are just video games, but worse. The controller's worse, the screen's worse, and your neck hurts. Cool.
But think of you playing Darkest Dungeon and just going.
Yes.
Go like
handheld video games fucking suck. How do you do them?
It's not handheld. It's PC.
How are you holding these things like sideways with your neck turned the opposite direction?
You hold them. You're putting the effort to hold them up in front of your face, and then your arms can get tired, or you're like putting it in your lap, so you have to look fucking down at it all the time, and then it hurts your neck. Or you have to like keep trying to find different positions to like lay in all the time to like become comfortable while playing it. It's like,
that is my plan.
We already solved this. It's called having a controller and looking at a screen that's across the room. It's comfortable already. You sit in a chair or a couch. I
don't have that screen.
None of that works with handhelds. The concept of sitting down looking at a screen that's in front of you, you can't replicate that with a handheld. You need like a fucking like armrest like thing, like a tool.
That might be my problem, actually, not having a big television in front of of a sofa.
Not even that. Like I just sit in a chair in front of my computer and I play video games on my monitor. Like this holds the monitor's holding the video game up for me, so I don't have to. Why would I want to hold the game up myself?
But the thing is, like, the chair doesn't recline proper. It's not comfortable to be in a place where I can fall asleep playing Darkest Dungeon.
That's not. You get a book.
No,
video games are way too active for falling asleep to.
You fall asleep reading? I could never. I know people who
fall
do,
asleep
but
all the time reading. It's hard.
Could never.
Yes, you do, Keith, with your reading in your Let's Plays, and then.
I mean, that's different. That's breathing problems.
I know.
Not like breathing problems, but just like not regulating my breathing correctly while speaking because I'm trying to read the lines out, and then I'm like, oh fuck, I didn't like breathing out in and out enough times. So now a yawn's coming out.
That's weird. It never happens to me, but it's consistent enough that I think you are absolutely right that's what it is.
Yeah, it's just some sort of thing that just happens, and then it sounds like I'm tired and I'm like bored with the game. I'm like, no, I just yawn when I read too much out loud. I didn't get breaks. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you never notice that, Andrew?
He doesn't.
No, I regulate my breathing.
He doesn't watch any of my stuff.
Dang it.
None of us watch each other's content. What are you, insane?
I don't make content. What are you gonna watch?
Yeah.
Watch his 999 Let's Play.
Watch content I was in. I'm not gonna watch 999 content.
The moment I'm talking like a normal person, it's not a problem. So the thing about Zero Escape and 999 with Andrew is that one he's there, but also I'm reading a couple lines of dialogue and then we're chatting and stuff like that. Like, it's not like me, like, I'm going to read a fucking 5-page codex entry. It's whenever I have to read like a bunch of dialogue or like an entire page of shit in some game, I'll just randomly start yawning here and there because if I just kind of fuck up at like regulating my CO2 levels because I just, I don't know how to do that. It happens automatically normally and it gets fucked up when I read apparently. Probably because I'm like concentrating more to not fuck up because there's an audience, and I'm like, and I'm like thinking about my voice and like what kind of performance I want to do, and I'm thinking about the inflection of like how do you say this line to make it sound normal, and you're also trying not to fuck up the pronunciation of any of the things, and there's like 5 made up words because video games are like that, and they make up words, and you're like you're doing all this, and then randomly I'm just start yawning because I fucked up at breathing apparently, and then everyone calls for the first time ever. I think this week somebody was like, "You're so good at reading. I love that." On like Pathologic or something like that. And I'm like, no one ever says that. Everyone's like, "Are you dyslexic?" I'm like, "Fuck you."
Like, congratulations on the nice comment.
Yeah, I got complicated for my reading finally after years of people calling me dyslexic for fucking up, and then me feeling justified when I play fucking Final Fantasy 14 with Andrew and Effie, and they're both fucking up all the time, and I'm like, "See, I'm not crazy." It's just a fucking reading fucking like cold reading stuff is a skill.
Yeah. It's very difficult. I fuck up all the time.
Everyone hated reading in class. Everyone can hear you fucking up. There's like 30 people.
As Let's Players, we're like masters. If they ever need people to cold read stuff, we're there. Like if YouTube gets canceled, that's what we do. Cold readers. That's what we are.
I have gotten so much better over the years.
Yeah.
It varies a lot based on like how natural the speaking patterns of the characters are, and the size of the text even, or just like the font.
And if the
like
A's
every game's
look
different.
like O's, A's look like O's, then you can't.
Yeah. It's like there's all this choking and weirdness when you're trying to deal with like Wilder Myth or Final Fantasy 14 and their weird writing, but then you give me Night in the Woods and I can just fucking go.
And it's so good. Like it's kind of weird that some text just feels so much better to read on a first to cold read basically, and it's really weird when that happens. I have some games that do that where it's just flawless. It's not flawless, but it's like smooth.
I'm so happy with any game that lets you make the fonts bigger. That's the saddest thing about was it Final Fantasy 14, as I realized I was playing in like a low resolution interface, so I pumped it up to higher resolution after a couple episodes or whatever. But then it just made it so the font's really small and the little text bottle, it's like tiny text bubble in the middle of the screen down there, and it's like it was so much bigger before. Bring it back. Or like it Outer Worlds? The fucking patches that have come out since I last played it or whatever, like reset the font size, and it's disgustingly small. Like every time you open a document, it's like here's a post-it note in the middle of your screen full of tiny text. It's like, why? There's all that screen. Just use the rest of the screen. What the fuck is wrong with you? It's not doing anything else. The game's paused to read this. Why are you like this?
It's really weird.
I've walked in on my housemates playing Outer Worlds on a fucking TV with a controller, and it's like I look at whenever they open a document, it's like, how do you read that? It's so small. Why?
It's really weird that they don't make the UI scalable, because it should be super simple because it's a video game custom made by the company making the video game. But also, like every other technology, like websites are scalable if you want to. It's not very complicated.
Yeah.
Although they often don't get made like that for production reasons. But still, like, it's so easy. You just make it relative. It's like instead of because back in the day, like we'd have to have pixel perfect. I mean, you didn't, but like UI is designed pixel by pixel. And so if that's what happens when you get a bigger screen with more pixels. The UI still is like only 100 pixels wide, so it's going to be tinier because the pixel amount of the screen is just bigger. And that's why, if you bump up the resolution,
the way you have to scale up the resolution of the interface when you play like System Shock or Vampire the Masquerade, because otherwise it's going to be like a size of your thumb in the corner of the screen and it's unreadable. Or like,
but these days,
Deus Ex footage is like that.
These days, not only can we make super high resolutions that have very little impact on performance, so you can make your AI or your UI be just for 16K if you want. There's no 16K screen out there, but you can make a UI like that. And the computer doesn't complain. It's fine. But also, it can be just rendered on the spot with vectors and, rendered basically pixel perfect and no impact whatsoever on performance. And it's not that difficult to make. It's just that, I don't know. I think it's just that
I intentionally played Fallout 1 in a smaller resolution than I could have, just because I hate it. like, well, I mean, most of the interface gets way too small if you're playing on like maximum resolution. But in particular, I hate how like the dialogue becomes a tiny window in the middle of the screen, and like so many people upload video essays and stuff of that game, and every time they talk to somebody, there's like a tiny fucking box with the talking head in the middle of the screen. It's like, what? This is horrible. Why would you want it to look like this?
It is horrible. Fallout looks so good on a good CRT, honestly.
Yeah, and that's like a hacked together nightmare port of a super old game at this point. But like people put out new games that are like that, and yeah, like I'll never get over any AAA game that's like, oh yeah, the document you just picked up, it's a Post-it note in the middle of your fucking like home theater system, and it's like, why? The game's literally stopping for me to read this. Why does it not fill the screen? What are you doing?
I feel like that setting is. I feel like that setting's not like hard locked into the engine. I feel like you can definitely change a configuration file. If you're lucky,
they even let you scale it up in game. It's just really incredibly like, who's it for when they make it stupidly small? Like I'm like, who's that? What are you doing?
It's usually just an accident. It's just some kind of issue or accident, and they just don't have time to go fix it. And
I think it might be just lack of... It has to be like they must have looked at it and be like, yes, this is right, and they're just wrong.
Yeah, that is what it is. I bet that is what it is. Because first off, there's a lot of people playing Fallout 1 and 2 in those bad resolutions, and they don't even question themselves.
So you can change the font size on PC.
But that's all bullshit. I mean, like Outer Worlds, like brand new games have that problem, and I'm like, dude.
Yeah, brand new. That's what I was going to say. Like, brand new games have that problem as well. Like Underrail, for example, is a game that looks amazing if you're playing at 720p, but 1080p, you lose all the detail because the pixel art is so tiny that you can't see anything. They later added a zoom feature, but the original game didn't let you zoom in, so it was just like if you played at 1080p, which is just normal resolution. So if you play at 1440p or 4K, it's just like impossible to see anything.
No, chat. It's just Andrew posted in chat that there's a solution for that. Or like, no, I know there's a solution. It's in the settings. It's just there. I'm saying, what fucking madman designed like the default interface or ever made it so that you could have like, you pick up a document. It's like, we will now read the document. This is all we're doing right now. And it's like a tiny portion of the screen is dedicated to it, and the rest of it's blurred out anyway. Like it's not interactive, but they don't use that screen space to look at the document, so you have to like squint across, like, and it's like they're making it for consoles, and the console version's also like that, and you're like, I can't fucking read that. And you have to just hope every single player finds this thing to make it bigger, and it's like, who's the not big version for? What is this UX?
I mean, those UXs aren't made well ever. It's kind of like the whole joke about the Jesus.
The ceiling is falling.
I broke it. Okay.
No.
Yeah, that's the whole joke about the about UX, is that there is no such thing as a good UX, only good ideas.
It's complicated because I get how
is it complicated to add a fucking slider for shit? Is it complicated to add like a fucking, like, I don't know, ask like 6 people to play your game that all have varying degrees of disability and say, hey, are you guys comfortable playing this game? And if they go, no, then fucking change your game. Like, it's, I don't know.
The problem is that comes a lot of the time, that comes so late in development that either they don't consider it a priority after they get notified that they need to add that sort of stuff, or they think it's not going to be that much of a problem, because this sort of stuff happens within a company in just such a day-to-day level. Developers are so used to looking at, it's not a criticism in the sense of what developers look at, but if you ever looked at a pre-release version of a game, for the longest time, like it's levels without textures, it's things all buggy and weird, and you need to launch with command lines, and it's just like there's no control support or whatever. It's just like all messy, because a lot of the development work for video games is just in a state that somebody who isn't working on them wouldn't even recognize the game, let alone actually have fun playing the game. Well, and that's why it's so difficult for some companies to iterate, because to iterate you need to get to a point where the game is already playable. So it just changes the development pipeline completely if you want to have iterative processes. And that's why Blizzard takes forever to finish their games, because they iterate, and they waste a bunch of time, which isn't a criticism. There's a lot of other things to criticize Blizzard for. What I'm saying is that because games spend so long being unplayable and looking weird and not having that level of polish, that it's on a like a structural level of the company to not pay attention to that level of polish. So I think that might be where some games just either the UI people are not given enough resources to make something scalable or something integrated into the game or whatever, or they don't get given time to put sliders in for that sort of stuff. I think that's how it works. I'm not sure. Obviously, we could read about it.
I would say obviously there's time is limited and money is, I don't know, magical, and there is a
money's magic
problem between the two coexisting. And so, but again, it goes back to the idea that, like, you need to properly plan your shit. You need to spend, I get that, like, okay, well,
there he's gone.
You need to set a time aside to design a UI, and that should be part of a process. Like, it's not something you should be designing while the game is being made, because a game being made is going to look different every week. But like, the UI
you
should
can
be
make it while the game is being made. It's just
you should always. I feel like you should always focus first on making everything, and then the UI kind of last. Like, I don't think you should be focusing.
Because that's like making a YouTube video and then making the thumbnail and the title last. You can do that, but you also can make it the other way around. There's a lot of people who do make it the other way around. They come up with a thumbnail and with a title.
I mean, those are for really different reasons. You make the thumbnail and title first because you're trying to sell an idea of whether someone will click on something, and then making the entire product around that.
But the UI
no video game is designed around the product. Like no video game is sold based on its interface, and then the entire game back engineered because of how sellable its interface was.
That's true, but the interface is what sells a game. If you like that, in the sense of,
is it? I don't think that's
when you
true.
experience a game, the interface is everything.
When you experience a game, you've already been sold the game.
Yeah,
that's the fundamental contrast here.
That's true. I misspoke. I don't mean selling as in the money transaction. I mean, like, people like it or not, and what people like about games is dependent on the UI. The UI, for me, is the most important thing about any video game, because it colors everything. It's the glasses you look at the game from. And obviously, when I say UI, that does include camera angles, and it does include the controls and how they play.
But like, I don't know, people like games that have terrible UI. And like, I mean, as in like a lot of people, like a huge majority of, I mean, that's an option. I was thinking like Visceral Cleanup Detail is like, it's a game everybody likes, but it's made like ass. It's like, I hate navigating that game. It sucks.
That game kind of barely involves an interface, to be honest. Unless
you want to do anything,
you're involved in it
unique. You want to change your name? Good luck. It's hidden. You want to change your color? Like,
the thing is,
it's a nightmare, but it's fine. You can just endure it. But I don't know. I'm trying to think of like, I don't know. The Smash Brothers has a terrible UI. I hate the menu system in Smash Brothers. It's fucking awful. It's like, I don't know. It's like asking a child to write
the UI isn't the menu systems, though. I'm talking about controls and how they play, the camera, what's on the screen telling you how you learn to play a game. Like, all those things are part of. They're not necessarily part of the menus. The menus is for sure they're part of the interface, obviously, but like I think the most important part of the interface is what you deal with on a second to second thing, sort of gameplay level, and obviously the controls. That's
a UI is the user interface. Everything from menus all the way to like.
You're thinking of the graphical user interface.
No, I'm thinking of UI. UI is user interface.
Yeah, but that's
the
also
interface that the user experiences, which is the way that the user interacts with the product.
Mm-hmm. But the menus are more specifically, they are also UI, obviously, but they're more specifically graphical user interface.
I think you're talking.
Nope, he's gone.
I think you're talking about UX design, which is like
UX is more overreaching, which is user experience. At least usually that's what UX means.
Yeah, which I feel like that's what you're talking about, right? The way that the feeling that the user has using the mechanics, using the like abilities within the game. Like, does it feel good to press X to use the button or to use an ability? Maybe not. Maybe they should have used F instead. But like, I feel like that's UX versus UI.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. True. I agree with you. I think that the terminology is incorrect.
You're right. It is. Yeah, absolutely.
Because again, UX is UX is fine. It's a very difficult field, and I don't envy the people who do it. But UI design is very simple, and people fuck it up all the time because they're barbarian idiots about it. Like, but UX is a completely different thing. It's just, I hate UI design. UI design is such fucking ass. In every video game has a UI where you're like, who made this? Could you just cheat on someone's homework? Like, someone had to have done this right somewhere. Just
not
cheat.
Every video game. Fallout 1 has an amazing user interface.
I will fucking throw you off a cliff.
I mean,
it's the just most archaic stuff.
Name one part of the interface of Fallout that's good. Literally one. There isn't.
You know where the dialogue fits because it's only in one spot. Yeah. That's a good design choice.
The dialogue's trash. It auto scrolls and not even in sync with the voice actor.
That's user experience.
And you can't turn it off.
Fun. I just said it was good because it goes in the same spot every time. It doesn't show up in random spots on the screen.
It doesn't jump scare you. You don't have to like open up a fucking Papers, Please tab and find the dialogue.
Exactly. Yeah. So there you go. The UI
literally everything
success.
Else. Literally everything else about Fallout 1 and 2 in terms of the interface is the most archaic stuff.
We've played games where we didn't even know what menu item on the menu is highlighted because the color was so bad.
I hate that. I hate it when they're like, when you highlight text, it changes color, and that's how you tell what you're highlighting. But there's only two options, so good luck telling which ones you're highlighting because there's just two different.
Like so basic. How did they mess that up?
Like whenever there's a yes/no question and you highlight something by it changing color, and it's like unless one of them's like really, really, really dark and grayed out, like it's almost like dark gray text on a black background and then one of them's white, unless it's that exact option, I don't know which one I'm highlighting. Like, how do you know?
Also,
it's like, oh, that one's orange and that one's purple. Cool. Which one's yes?
Yeah. Alternatively, the only other option if you're coloring it is green and red. Like red is no, green is yes. Like that's the only way people will get it. Otherwise, you have to gray out the option that's not selected, or people will just die. They can't. How do you decipher this puzzle you've created? Like,
I'm amazed.
At least you're not having
to
play Towers of Hanoi.
And it happens. It happens so frequently, and it's like, and this is like all you had to do was ask somebody else to test this and like tell you no. And I'm not a professional. This isn't my career. I don't make video games for a living. But you cannot tell me that changing the color of text is so cataclysmically difficult that it would set a game back by years. Like, I know.
People fucking up that bad is not a technical difficulty. It's right back to my original thing about Outer Worlds, where it's just like someone just made a bad choice and nobody noticed. It wasn't like it was easier or harder. It's like there was equally available choices that they just didn't take. Like Outer Worlds has a size slider and they just defaulted to stupid size. And it's like, why did you do that? Because like anyone who's ever been to anybody's house knows that like you go to someone's house and they'll just have their fucking, at least back before HDMI, they'll just have their fucking HD TV set up wrong and the whole screen looks kind of red or whatever, or green, because like it's all fucked up and like not plugged in correctly. Like people will just tolerate something being set up badly and never fix it and not even consider the idea that they can fix it. So you got to really set your default correctly. And I don't know why you'd ever set your screen to have tiny text on a console game. Like, you know what resolution it'll be. Like, it's not like a mystery. You know exactly what the game will look like on PS4. Why would you make it look bad on PS4? Like, there's weirdness to desktop games. Like, fucking Marty has one of those ultra widescreen nightmare monitors that wraps around, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know how you make a game for that. Like, that's just weird. But like,
the center of the UI.
But like when I play it in 1080p. Why is it set to stupid? and I've seen it on console to see that it's set to stupid on there, and then like, why would you do that? And yeah, like the UX the interface design on like the yes no dialogue things for like continue or whatever, and it being like, I can't tell which one I'm highlighting. Like, just show your game to 2 people. Can they tell?
They don't have
fixed it.
friends, Keith.
Oh,
They've
no.
been worked so hard to death, they have no one else to show. And all the people that they can show are being too worked to death to actually make any meaningful critique.
That's what it is, yeah. And also there are no internal systems for those meaningful critiques to actually get anywhere. That's why people saying, oh, this game didn't get tested can be a problem, because usually the game did get tested and all the testers noticed all the things. It's just that the companies don't pay attention to the testers in a way that is productive. Because either
them testers don't know what they're talking about anyway.
I mean, testers are
very
given very specific things to focus on, and that's not their job to like go to every menu and go like, hey, yeah, this doesn't look good. Like,
no, they usually do.
I've heard of testers basically being disregarded if they comment on the wrong part of the game.
Yeah. Like there's parts that they have to focus on. Yeah, but I mean, like, there's only so much you can focus on. You can't spend your entire life going like combing over your game after it's done. That's what the review section's for.
You can absolutely do that. That's quality control. That's what quality control does.
What you do is you release the game, and then everybody who buys it on day one is the beta testers, and then you fix your game afterwards for the comparatively small audience that comes later.
It's like
the game's finally good after everyone played it.
I quit last month. I quit a job of 10 years where I spent the entire time trying to convince my boss that testing cannot be made by the same people who develop the things. It is done always by the same people who develop things, because that's how development works. You're always testing your stuff. Otherwise, how do you know you're developing anything? But it needs to be somebody
It's like
else
testing whether or not a puzzle is good when you made the puzzle.
Yeah,
it's like you can't know what the solving experience is like if you made it know the answer and all the logic of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so I quit that job. Bullshit interface and programming is the puzzle.
So I quit that job, and now I'm in a job where I am planning and will hopefully be implementing systems precisely to empower the other people in the company to give feedback to the web developers, and part of them is me and my team, for minimal suggestions, for trying to make sure that people are okay with giving suggestions and saying this isn't good. And also allowing me and my team to be able to take those suggestions and write them down and have them, and just being like, this is the stuff that people complain, and we can work on that. Because what happens, and it's very easy to do that if you have a team that work on all their fields, because obviously it's a big company that works on a lot of stuff. They don't most of them are not web developments and then web developers, and then you have the web dev guy being like, okay, I make the site, I like, he's the geek one that is gonna make the site, and people, the communication is very one directional in because it's always going to be people, I want this to be like this and I want this to be like that, but it's very difficult for I suppose you could say the more technical people, so the people who make games or make the site or whatever, it's very difficult for them to think the other way around. And that's what I'm trying to say. There need to be systems where the programmers of video games get the data and get the feedback from testers. And I'm not talking from experience in regards to games, obviously, but those systems are difficult to implement from the programmer sides. It needs to be always the QA team being like, we need this to be answered. We need this stuff to be written down. And companies just don't prioritize that. Look at Rockstar and their super long load times. Jesus Christ.
I still can't believe GTA 5 exists in the form it is. It's such a popular game, and it runs so embarrassingly.
Yeah.
Just that.
Well, yeah. There's
just the you just click launch, and you're just like, cool. I guess I'll just go do something else for a while.
No, they fixed it. That's the thing that they fixed. Somebody modded that into the game. They tried to sue that person, and then they actually paid them to for the code. Oh boy. And Rockstar is also,
when your open world shooter loads slower than MMOs, something is wrong.
Yeah.
I don't I just, again, I think these are problems that can easily be solved. You just need to, properly schedule the timing to do it. And
it's not even, it's not obvious though. It only comes from experience. Like, I understand things the way I do. I'm not, obviously I don't have experience making games, but it's my opinion. Like, I see the way I see things the way I see. But if you ask somebody else with maybe the same amount of experience that I do, that I have, maybe they see it completely differently. It's like, it's not obvious. Like, I think it's obvious, but I also never tried to run a company that makes a video game. So, and so like, I don't know. Do you get what I mean about not being obvious?
I've been privy to roadmaps before. I've worked at a company that had a product, and that product had to get to certain points in its development at certain times, and needed to, get to 0.5 version, 0.8 version, like you had to, and we did like monthly releases and updates. And so I'm really privy to the entire, like, I don't know what you would call it, like piss poor human creation of road mapping. It's just like but there's like, you take these like little shortcuts and little cheats to avoid having to delay micro things, like things that you could say, hey, look, can we just get like 24 hours on this? We're going to release it, put it into a dev environment, get like a small amount of users to access it real quick, make sure like they, like we have a small team of people who can access a huge chunk of this, and they're going to like poke and prod this for like, for a day, basically. They're going to spend 24 hours stress testing this update, and as long as nothing breaks, then we'll push it out, and if something happens, that's okay, we've done our best to test, and we'll just fix it in the next patch if it's not cataclysmic, if it's not something that prevents profit. And I get it, like it's hard to a game is like 20 times that amount, because every single stupid fucking micro millisecond of that game is a problem. A cup that's put on a table in a level could literally crash your game if like a cup in another level happens to be renamed differently. It's not great. It's unpleasant and it sucks. But the more complicated something is, much like, I don't know, like sending a rocket into space, you don't like speed run that. You try your best to like make sure that every base is covered, every rug is flipped before you release something like that, especially something you're charging consumers a lot of money for. Like $60 may seem pretty frivolous when you compare it to the amount of money you make for a game, like $200 to make a game, or $200 million to make a video game, and you're selling it for $60. But like, think about the fact that like $60 isn't cheap. It's like, it is, considering you're like, presumably you don't only own one game in your life. Like, it's a lot of money. And to release a product, like you look at a product like, I don't know, No Man's Sky, and you say like, how did you release this product?
They lied themselves into a huge hole with that game.
But that's what I mean, is like, but because there's like such rigorous refusal to just understand that a development process is difficult and it's tough. And again, I'm not denying that leaves such an obvious failure of time management, like open to the public. Like, all you needed to do was give QA a little bit more time to breathe and look at your product and then release it. I guess the point I'm making is that if your game needs to release at this time or your company will fail, he's
gonna get it.
Sorry. The point I was making is that if your company would fail because the game doesn't come out at a certain amount of time, that's like, that's not your developer's fault. That's your fault for poorly managing your company. Like, you should have a budget. You should be getting more investors if you need them. You should, like, these aren't problems that the developers should have to endure by giving out a less quality product. Like, I guess you could argue that if, the company goes under, the product doesn't get made.
I'm so amazed that's happened multiple times. Just this like
What?
grinning through your teeth, just kind of like, yeah, things are going great. And then the game comes out and it's just like a trash fire mess or just overtly lies. And it's like, you had to know. You like it's impossible not to know. You had to know. Like, surely, like the moment it comes out, everyone's like aware of all the things that you're lying about. And it's like, what the, you literally just like, you just couldn't bring yourself to ever acknowledge these things or delay it or do anything about this. You just like, I'm just going to keep pretending things are fine until it's just a public embarrassment, which it always was going to be.
It's the Peter Molyneux effect. I don't envy that sort of people. I remember being caught in a lie
he
when
would
I was a
constantly
kid.
lie about all the promises he was making about his games, and then like
I don't know how adult people can do that though.
he was betrayed.
Like,
I felt betrayed with the very first game because the fucking, you read the Game Informer article, I think, that originally previewed the first Fable, and it's like you could get sick supposedly if you like stayed out in the cold, like camp, and like when you went out camping and roughing it, like it had survival mechanics. No. And you could get fucking cursed by the Balverine, which was they were just werewolves, and you could become a werewolf. I'm like, no, you can't. I tried. I got killed. I fucking, as a kid, I got killed by the werewolf over and over again, and like, I don't think you can become a werewolf.
Yeah,
I wanted that. Like, hell yeah, let's do that. And it's like, he lied,
in Neo
and I remembered his
Scavengers,
lies.
You get all those things, and it's an indie game done by one person in Flash, and it still works, I think.
Yeah, it's frustrating. And then you had Cyberpunk, where it's like they knew what they were doing, they had to.
Oh, they did.
Or like all those, like, what was that Sean Murphy shit? What was going on with No Man's Sky, where it's like he just pretended it was multiplayer all the way until it came out, to the point where they had to put a sticker on the box to replace the parts in multiplayer, because they literally let the game come out before the lie was revealed. And it's like, how do you do that?
Well, the real genius of it, and the idiocy, is that he didn't actually say it was multiplayer. What he said was that people could be in the same place, but it would be so unlikely they would never meet each other. And me listening to a game that was already so lofty in its promises, I heard that and I said, that guy is full of shit.
I think No Man's Sky is I think No Man's Sky is a different beast. I think No Man's Sky is
how do you do that?
So it's right? I think it's less about lying, and because again the fact when he talked about adding multiplayer, I know I'm not saying he didn't lie. I'm saying that. Well, actually, yeah. So when he talked about adding multiplayer, this was like still a while before the game came out. It was like a year or two before the game came out, and it just was that he never reiterated that. He never went back on to like, I don't know, a talk show and said like, by the way, guys, no multiplayer. Don't like.
Well, that's the thing. Like, if you cut that feature, you revisit it at some point. The fact that it's not, especially when again people were actively asking him.
Well, and again, so this is another part, is that because Hello Games is such a small company, their biggest fuck up here was, again, not hiring a PR person to focus this. Like, they definitely should have had a person that was like dedicated to doing Q&As and PR shit, and not had Sean Murphy doing it, who is not meant for that. He is a technical lead. He is not a fucking PR person. He's a nightmare. He's the worst person to have, because he's the guy who has no interest in updating people about changes in a game.
That's what's so baffling to me about No Man's Sky specifically, is that like Cyberpunk is like a self-sufficient bubble. It's like it's made by the same people that were publishing it and selling it. Like it's one company doing everything.
Correct.
Hello Games, like No Man's Sky is published by Sony, and I'm just like, no one's looking into this. No one's ever going to take a moment to be like, hey, maybe someone in this fucking chain of command should fucking acknowledge at some point that this game doesn't know if it's single player or multiplayer, and also notice neither does the audience or the packaging. Like, how the fuck does that happen? What are publishers even for if you're not even looking at shit for a second?
It's just money.
Sony, also money. But
like
Sony
is at fault so hard for everything that happened with the fallout of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
They did that.
But and I mean and so what they did is they turned around and blamed Hello Games for it. But like, that's
fucking
the thing.
cringe. Do your job, mega corporation.
No, why? Have you ever seen Sony do their job? That's not what they do.
They published Life of Black Tiger and the other weird things.
But I don't know. But think about, like, Sega's a big publisher. That's all they do now is publish.
Bad things. They always have.
and Sega's published some fucking wacky shit.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's just about it's an investment. A publisher is just like a on a movie. What is it? The producer. It's just a producer. Producers don't fucking do anything. They show up and like throw checkbooks around, and people go like, "Oh, thanks,"
and grab the sandwiches for people to eat.
Yeah, but like, look at like look at Wasteland. Like, who approved that game to come out?
That's another
like
bingo card for us.
Someone just like thumbs up it. I don't know. State of Decay came out, and someone just thumbsed up that and was like, "Yeah, this works. This is multiplayer acceptable." And you're like, "Oh, the game that
State
just
of
like
Decay was such a State of Decay 2. Like, it was such a train wreck. It was incredible.
But like, someone approved that. Someone like looked at it and went like, "Yeah, that has multiplayer." And you're like, you don't want to maybe like put that on the back burner for a bit. Maybe tell people like it's there, but like doesn't work. But here's a good one. Did you know Resident Evil 8 has multiplayer?
Does it?
Like the upcoming thing that you get pre-ordered when you buy it?
No, it came out. They pulled it off the shelves because it didn't work.
Oh, they pulled it back off.
Yeah, they pulled it back off.
This is not the same thing as the Resident Evil 3 multiplayer, because 3 also came with multiplayer. That was also a separate game. They keep doing that.
They keep doing it, but
they keep making multiplayer games you can't buy. They come with the other Resident Evil game.
So Village came with multiplayer. It came out, but it was a fucking mess. It was so bad. And they just said no. And they just quietly took it away. And they have not announced when it's coming back out. There's no plan. They just made it go away. So there's a whole product that people paid for technically, if you want to be technical, they technically paid for a product that just they don't have access to anymore and never will. And there's no acknowledgement of if it will come back, when it will come back. But like, how did that go through? And it's not even part of the base game. So someone privately on the side pressed the go button on a multiplayer function that just didn't work. Like, how do you do that? How does that get, I don't know. Like I'm imagining, like, could you imagine a rocket is just sitting at NASA and someone presses the launch button and no one goes like, hey, and they don't say like sorry, and like everyone just acknowledges the launch is happening, but no one says like, hey, stop that guy. Like, stop that button. don't launch that game. Like,
maybe people do, but they just don't have the systems inside of the company for that to actually matter.
I'm just really enjoying the mental image here of like some guy in a suit comes like barreling in, like busts through the door and breaks it down, and he's like, you're gonna fucking take that game and put it on the store shelves today or I will eat all of your children. And they're like, fuck, I guess we gotta do it. Like, who's coming in with like fucking guns and putting it to everyone's head and is like, press the go button, sign off on it, sign the fuck off on it. And you're like, Jesus, all right, man, here you go. Like, if you want a bad game, you can have it. I don't know why you want Cyberpunk out today, but like,
everyone's just still
like,
procrastinating on their group projects, just like in high school.
Right? There's fucking like some guy who didn't show up apparently,
and the fucking Rise of Skywalker and Sonic the Hedgehog and Cats. Like,
wow, I don't know how
many of these things happen. They just keep happening, and you're like, I don't know how it's happening. I can at least see how Evan Hansen happened, because they thought that they could pull off the de-aging effect, and they couldn't. But they'd already made the movie at that point, so fuck it. But
did they? I don't think they cared if they could or not. I think that they were just like, they tried whatever they could to make it work, but no matter what, it had to have him in it. Like, he had to be there.
Yeah, and so there's like a nepotism thing going on with that movie.
Yeah, but you either try to make it work or you just throw your hands up and go like, you know what, fuck you, dude. Like, yeah. So I guess they tried, and it just like, it was never gonna work. But I don't know. It's like whenever
Sonic's amazing.
Sonic's amazing. What is that, a biography book?
Like Evan Hansen and Cats were both cases where like they just were gonna fly with it and then hope they could fix it later. Like Cats, they're like, this technology will totally work, and they're like, oh, it didn't work, but we already made the movie, we're fucked. Sonic, you're just CGing an entire character from scratch into the thing. You had complete control over it, and somehow the first version happened ever. That is incredible.
No. What's incredible is not only did the first version happen, but they were so confident they told toy manufacturers to go with it. Like, this was not tested by anybody, which is impressive. Like to think someone, like there was literally someone at the top, and you know it was like, no one gives a shit. It's a movie for kids. They don't care if he looks ugly or wrong. Just do whatever it takes to get the movie out. And then they release a trailer, and that with his big fat dumb mouth got no punishment or repercussions for it. But every single person who was involved in making it, besides approving it, got in trouble for it. You know that's what happened. You know that, like,
you know the actual artists were like screaming the entire time.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh my
yeah,
god, this
like,
nightmare. Why are they making me do this?
Yeah, they were crying. I can't imagine every time someone drew Sonic's eyes not connected, they were like, it's not gonna work. No one's gonna like this. They're gonna fucking hate it. I know it. It's like,
you could just know, like,
out.
Honestly, it's incredibly fitting that the movie had just as bad quality control as the entire franchise.
I mean,
that just makes it like authentic.
It is very, very on brand for a
if
Sonic
there was a
product,
polished, well-made Sonic movie, that'd be confusing because it's like, why would the best video game movie come from one of the most poorly maintained franchises?
Hey, what about Mania?
Mania? Oh yeah.
People say Sonic Mania is the best Sonic game made.
People
since
liked
Sonic.
one Sonic.
I played it a little bit
in 20 years.
I played it a little bit, and I think they made the levels too complicated.
They're too long.
Yeah, they're too
Every
long.
Mania level's
That
so
too,
long that you
yeah.
get bored. I got so fucking bored. There's all these parts we were like some kind, I feel like it was like a tube level or a casino level where you kept it like, there's a lot of parts where you run on like a fucking half pipe on the ceiling over and over again, and I was genuinely like, are we going in circles? Like, have we been here before? I feel like we're going left to right the entire time, but is this level looping? Like, it was so long and so repetitive, you genuinely started to question whether you were playing the game right. That's how fucking long the levels were. You're at risk of running out of time, and the time is the same time limit as it always was in the short levels of the old games.
And you guys play it like you're sprinting all the time. You're going forward. I explored a little bit.
Yeah.
So if you say it's boring, like wow. I honestly like I am a big fan of Sonic 1, 2, 3 and Knuckles. And I just love them for exploration, and I don't like the Emerald, the Chaos Emerald games. They're not good, but I play them. But they're not good in this game either, in Mania. But I think it's just people like Sonic for going fast. But
their standards are also really low because the franchise is so bad. Yeah. They're like, oh my god, this feels like a real, authentic version of the good ones. And it's like, I don't know if any of the Sonic games were that good to begin with. Like, it was always like a janky, weird form of platforming that was like kind of frustrating. And why does he move that way? And like there's like several reasons why it's not great. But
it wasn't revolutionary. It just was not Mario, which I guess is just something.
Boring.
Because it's not. Mania feels too much like old stuff without adding any new stuff. Like
remember Mania had the floating platform boss fight? Where you're on a platform that follows you, but sometimes you just fall off and you don't know why.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just doesn't follow you and you die and you're like, well, if I can't trust it, then I don't know how to play this fight.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I get it. Like, there was a lot of work put into Mania, and I can appreciate the willingness to try to, I don't know, do homage or something. But like, I don't want.
I just want to watch the Tyson Hess animated intro over and over again and never play the game.
I want that Sonic though. Like, I want the intro, the Tyson Hess intro Sonic. Like, that's what I want. Just make that. Just make that cute little fun.
I'm googling it right now. I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Make a 3D Sonic that looks like that art.
Yeah,
what is
like cell shaded.
Just do like a cute little cell shaded. Everyone's a dumb little bean size character thing. It's great. You would be fine. Don't make any overly complicated plot shit. I don't care about the Gazools coming and making the Borsk bad. I don't care. I don't fucking care. I just want to run. I don't know, man. Like, every Sonic plot is so bad. Every Sonic plot is just so bad, and I don't care, and I just want to have fun running from one part of the level to the other. And you can, like, this is like the Mario Odyssey thing. Mario Odyssey is really fun because it's just like, hey, you could do Mario stuff in 3D, and you're like, yeah, you did it. That's exactly what I want. I don't want like weird, locked in place bullshit. I don't want to be like, oh, you want to play a Sonic game? You better hold X because that's all you get. And you're like, why am I here then? Couldn't you just press play on a movie? Can I just like...
I mean, the thing about Mario is that when they made him 3D, he gave him new actions. They reinvented his moveset. Sonic, when they put him in 3D, they usually just do the same thing as normal Sonic and just try to convert the 2D Sonic directly to 3D. And at most, they add the homing attack usually. That's most of the changes. And it's like, no, you made... that character was made for a completely different type of game. You can't just use the same guy. Like, fundamentally, like, I don't like 2D Mario very much. I grew up playing 64 and Sunrise, and those are fundamentally a different platforming series.
Yes.
They don't play anything alike.
Oh, and I mean, you know, that's kind of speaks to the quality nature of why...
Because Nintendo tries.
Sonic, Nintendo tries, and Sonic and Sega
Nintendo,
don't.
I don't like the ambiguity of 2D Mario. Like, 3D Mario punches and kicks and stuff. 2D Mario is like, I don't know, you like rub on them in different ways, and sometimes you die and sometimes they die. Who knows what the rules are? I'm like, I don't want to play this. Every time I watch somebody play Mario Maker, where there's now like 12 different Marios in it now from different games, and they all have different rules, I'm like, I don't know how you know what to do. I don't know how you know what you're allowed to do, and like, oh wow, if I do this, the spikes are actually trampolines. Fuck you. I'm like, I can't. This makes no sense.
The best way to remember is, if you don't want to invest hundreds of hours into Mario, don't play Mario Maker, because that's the whole point, is that you're doing this because you've played so much regular Mario games that you want something new. You're not there yet, Keith. You can still play.
Never go there, Keith. Never
you can still play the original
Mario is so
games.
intuitive and fun, and 2D Mario is just esoteric nightmares from the very beginning, and it never stopped.
Is it?
Yes. Every 2D Mario, as somebody who's played in the 2D Mario for an audience and everyone's tearing their hair out, there's so much made up random bullshit that you would never know. It's just
you're
noise.
Just salty
it's
about
so
that,
random.
that holding down in a block that then becomes transparent. Just
I don't even remember that. What are you talking about?
There was one moment in one of the 2D Marios that you played. There's apparently a trick that I didn't know about either.
The one where you drop behind the background and the one that looks like a stage play?
Yeah. And apparently everybody knew that, and you didn't, because
I didn't play that one. I played World. I think that's 3.
But there's
Super Mario World?
I'm misremembering.
I played World, and there was a bunch of just
level,
random nonsense where it's like, how does any of this work? What are any of the secrets?
It was probably one level that had that.
Super Mario World.
I did this thing that usually kills things, and this time I died, and he's not covered in spikes, so I don't know why it happened.
Yeah, Super Mario World is technically 4 in the US and 3 in Japan.
Because Doki Doki thingy was not 2.
Correct. Doki Doki didn't come out in Japan as 2. Japan got the hidden levels.
Which they also didn't call 2.
Which they also didn't call 2.
It's not confusing. You're confusing. Dynasty Warriors. The Dynasty Warriors in the United States, where the franchise basically starts at 2. Because 1 was a fighting game.
Wait, the other ones are a fighting game as well? You can't fool me.
No, they're all brawlers. All the Dynasty Warriors games are like these. All the Dynasty Warriors games are like these open battlefield brawlers where you kill like 1,000 people. But the first Dynasty Warriors in the United States is a one-on-one fighting game where you're like best of 2 rounds, like in Tekken.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like that game existed in Japan, but they didn't call them the same franchise. Like the same company made both of them. But they didn't call the open world hack and slash game the sequel to the fighting game, but we did for some reason. So every single Dynasty Warriors is just off by 1 number between the 2 countries. And it's like, why did you do this?
You would think at some point
it's all for a fighting game that no one remembers. No one has ever played that game. No one's seen it before.
That's not the only thing either. You were saying that, and I was like, you know what? They probably didn't name Dynasty Warriors 2 actually Dynasty Warriors, and it isn't. It's apparently called True Three Kingdoms Unrivaled.
Well, yeah. Well, because we don't in the U.S. we don't really care about the 3 kingdoms. as much as other
They're like the
places
Muso.
do.
They didn't even need to.
They're
They just
Muso
had to come
and
up with a
Sengoku
different
Muso.
title.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just call it a different title then instead of
that's
being
why-
Dynasty Warriors 2?
No one knows why. They had to cash in on
Because-
that name recognition of the fighting game
Yeah.
that no one ever played.
Most likely because they already had like the
And he's gone.
because they already have they already have the IP, and so making a new IP
Oh,
takes
makes
work
sense.
and money, and it's cheaper to just be like, I don't know, call it fucking, what was that stupid game no one bought? Dynasty Warriors? Done. Easy. Like
That's what Bethesda did with Prey.
what Bethesda did with Fallout.
Also
We had a-
that.
I meant to segue to this like an hour ago because you touched on it, but then I didn't. But there's
I mentioned something
there's an
else.
email that's from Thomas S. that says, nothing lasts forever, even on the internet. To Keith, Andrew, and RPG, who have built a career job on a platform you have no control over and could easily one day shut down, which already, this question's already have some problems because 2 out of 3 of these people did not make a career or job on this platform at all.
We get the gist.
What would you do if YouTube was going to shut down and giving 1 week notice? Considering the countless amount of videos you have, which I assume have not been archived since because it's impractical. Yeah. Would you download your best playthroughs? Would you jump to another site and start again due to Patreon backing you, or just give up?
No, I just host myself. It's surprisingly cheaper
Also,
than you think
I'm
it
also
is.
the only one with Patreon backing.
Yeah, but
I have a little bit of
this is just a
Patreon.
question for me, I think. But go.
yeah, well, I would say that realistically, it would probably, like for me, I have most of my Let's Plays on a NAS hard drive. I've kind of like slowly been stealing all of them from YouTube and putting them onto the hard drive to like store them, because yeah, it's just I don't know. YouTube will go away one day, and that's like that's like a huge chunk of my life, and I don't want that to just like pop out of existence. Like, it's terrifying to think of. So I've just been backing them up personally, but I think if I had to do it again, I would probably host them myself and just not let it be streamed. Like, just make it so if you want to watch it, you had to like download it or something.
Oh, like old school Rooster Teeth.
Yeah, because like why?
Stamp size videos.
Like, I would only make the newest episode of stuff streamable, and everything else you had to download just to like save myself on money.
I was gonna say like that's not
but-
scalable. That's not gonna.
That
gonna
doesn't
save
save you
you
money
money.
though. Streaming isn't more expensive on a hardware level than downloading.
bandwidth level.
It's the same
so
thing.
Remember, no, well, what do you mean it's the same thing?
Yeah, like you download the whole video anyway. I mean, that's assuming people stream from start to finish. If they skip around, then it's not like that. Although you can have YouTube used to reload the video on your side.
Streaming should save bandwidth probably, because you
Yeah, if
only
you skip
stream the amount
areas.
they watch as opposed to like downloads where people just fucking
Oh yeah,
like.
streaming probably.
It's like
yeah,
it's
I
like your
think on a-
Netflix list. You're like, oh yeah, I'll totally watch these
Maybe.
documentaries one day. I'm a big brain boy. Like people like preemptively download thousands of your videos and then never actually get around to watching them. People do that all the time.
It's possible.
That's
I
like
don't-
getting Steam games or getting comics or any purchase where you're like, I'll totally consume all this media. I was wrong.
Like, admittedly, it's been a while since I've looked into the cost of streaming in terms of bandwidth. I just
because
remember
you're still downloading the same data.
Here's
Just
my
well,
question
how
for the
many-
audience. Jump to another site and
Yeah.
start again. What other site?
Venmo or Vimeo, whatever
Venmo
it's
streaming
called.
service.
There you go, pay to stream.
there is no YouTube equivalent. It's just YouTube.
You wouldn't be able to make.
Mine is out.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to make money like you do with YouTube anywhere else, but you could host. You
Oh,
get it. I'm done. It's fine. Continue with the conversation.
We're well into the Let's Play. I think I only have attachment to a few of my Let's Play, so I would download my favorites and upload them somewhere else if somewhere else shows up. I think a lot of my presence on YouTube is only worth it if people are watching. Like, they're not. I don't think it's worth it for what I did. It's worth it for me to be able to show the games that I like to people who might otherwise not remember them or not even find them. And so for me to spread that love is why I do YouTube in the first place. So if there's no alternative, if YouTube stops and there's nothing like that anymore, if all of a sudden people just go and watch Twitch all day and that's it, then I would go to Twitch and just do Twitch. But Twitch is not very good for the old games. It just doesn't,
No, Twitch is horrible for Let's Plays.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like fundamentally, the kind of content we do on Twitch it doesn't work on Twitch.
It doesn't work. No, it's different. It's very different.
Like if you want to go on Twitch, you're supposed to basically just only play games that people can just kind of drop in and out at any second and be like, oh yeah, I'm watching this now, and it's fine to just start watching right there. And when we do like playthroughs of games that are like a chronological thing, it's why it's like in many cases why I think a lot of my streams do really bad is I think about the use case, and it's like, who wants to randomly open a stream like 90 minutes into a Wilder Myth stream when like they're not even caught up on the Let's Play, and it's like, I don't know what's fucking happening. They click in for 2 seconds and leave because it's like, oh, what's up?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
it's fun. I'd have to change everything I do in order to stream, which would fucking suck. So I'd prefer not to. But yeah, I would probably just be like, hey, Patreon people and anyone else I can reach, hopefully, here's my new account on Twitch, I guess. Say goodbye to everything you liked about me, because daddy's got to eat. And then I'll just try to figure out how to live anymore. I'd also like to just do video essays, and that's probably a thing you can eventually do on some other platforms. Check out Curiosity Stream. They're my only daddy now.
I got a Curiosity Stream subscription a few months back. I think I mentioned it before. Man, that thing, it's. I thought, people like us say there's no other site, but they kind of are out there. There's a lot of other content out there that if YouTube goes down, there's a lot of other things to see. It's just that nobody does see it. So
the thing is, you can't upload your Let's Plays to Curiosity.
Oh yeah, for sure. But
or Vimeo.
But even in terms of profit, I'm sure it's nowhere
Japan's
near
YouTube,
as profitable.
whatever it's called.
Or Chinese.
Save me, Andrew. What's Japan YouTube called?
Nico. It's like Nico.
Nico. I tried to research a video on there recently. Probably 2 months ago, but it was hard because I don't know Japanese.
Nico. Yeah.
You also don't know how to write it.
Yeah, I was on that website trying to research B-Stars because I found out that there's like an OG animation for like there's a previous B-Stars.
There's an OVA. Yeah, there's an OVA for it.
Like it's like shitty drawings and it's really old and it looks weird, but it has Legoshi in it and stuff. And I'm like, how old is this? I think it predated the manga. And I was like, what the fuck? So I was trying to track down anything I could about it, but no, there's like a Lost Media Archive website page about it that has like a couple of clips that they've found, but I cannot find any evidence of the original thing, and I don't think it's uploaded anywhere on Nico. But I tried. I went down the fucking hole. But yeah, no, I would definitely just be like, really hope video essays work out. Got to find some platform to upload them to, because Let's Plays would be dead at that point if I had to only go on a streaming platform. Although, if YouTube went down, Twitch might suddenly be like, okay, we should like maybe invest in VODs a little more. If we can capture an audience with it. They might actually make like a YouTube part of Twitch that's like, upload your videos, and there's like a discoverability algorithm, which they've never bothered making before. Because that's the thing, is in order to make what we do work, people have to be able to find your content, and not just by knowing it exists already and Googling it. Like they have to like be able to discover your content. Otherwise you don't have an audience, and then that's it. You lose 1 or 2 Patreon supporters every month, because that's just natural decay. And then eventually they're all gone because you're not growing. You have to always be growing to offset the decay of your followers. And Twitch tells you to fuck yourself. Like YouTube grows your channel organically one way or another, variable success. Twitch tells you to go fuck yourself. Twitch doesn't give a fuck about any of their people except like the top handful of people. You can stream every day on Twitch all the time, so much, and just no one will find you because the website doesn't direct people towards you in any way. Like it just won't try. And that's just a fundamental difference between the two websites.
Yep.
So the entire way that I know how to make a
Insane.
living online would just be gone. So there's no real replacement. Reflexively, I'd be like, I want to keep all these videos because it's like 10 years of my life just gone, and that'd be weird. So I'd reflexively try to like archive them all and put them somewhere, but I don't fuck if I know where I'd put them. They wouldn't be watchable by anyone because what would I do with them? I just have a weird hoard until YouTube 2 came out.
I think I don't know, the aspect of it being part of our lives is it's kind of a two-pronged screw up. On the one hand, you know, you wouldn't want to lose it because the end result, the videos themselves, you wouldn't want to lose it, but the result of our lives or of our years of work is also the years of that the videos are going to be up. Like if I stop making videos right now, my 6 years on YouTube will continue being a thing, a reality in people's lives for a while still. That people are still going to watch the videos for a while. And if YouTube stops existing, that also ends. So it's not, you don't save the 10 years of your life by just saving the videos onto a hard drive, or at least you don't save them completely, because a lot of the result of that work will stop. But at the same time, a lot of the result of that work already is there, and nobody can take it away. There's a lot of people that watch our videos, and you know that nobody can take those views away. You know.
Also,
it's like
contrary, our YouTube channels could just outlive us. They could
just
be here
hopefully
forever.
They don't. Hopefully they don't.
I hope they do. In that, I hope they're around forever, not because I die tomorrow.
Oh, that's a good point, actually.
I mean,
I don't think they're going to outlive us.
If you outlive your YouTube
Hopefully
channel, and it's not because you like retired, bad news for you.
No, what I'm saying
in
is
fact,
that
having
like,
a YouTube channel is a pretty good retirement thing, because it's like it just keeps making money after you stop working on it.
It doesn't make much money. I don't know if it's. I don't know if it, I mean, if you have a big channel, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that's what
the thing
I mean.
is,
If you were big enough that you're making a living off of YouTube, then if you eventually do retire at like retirement age, then it's like, well, your videos are still going to just sit there and keep making money. So that's a pretty all right retirement package.
That's all. Yeah, that's absolutely. But so many big channels are big because they make like fickle content that is only consumable in the immediacy.
Yeah,
there's not a whole lot of big channels that have you know, a big backlog of videos that gets a lot of views.
but the thing I take solace in is that if YouTube starts having risk of going down, there are literally thousands of people that are infinitely more powerful than me that are much more in trouble as a result. And so if anyone's going to do anything about it, it's them.
Yeah.
There's so many people that have a vested interest in keeping YouTube going, because there's just the number of people with 1 million subscribers is a staggering number that I can't process. Like the list is like 1,000 or 10,000 or something stupid like that. Like I can't. That's impossible to me. It doesn't make sense.
And honestly,
that's just so many people making so much money.
And honestly, the biggest risk isn't that YouTube goes away. It's that YouTube changes into something that doesn't allow for our presence to be there anymore in a way that is manageable or that is reasonable. Like, imagine all the big corporations that are already taking advantage of YouTube in a way that is prejudicial to us. And imagine they just change the YouTube in the next few years into something that just is not this anymore. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Or just the risk of getting taken out by Atlas or Sega when they're feeling particularly copyrighty that day.
Don't play Atlas games or Sega games. Just unrelated to that.
Pretty deep into Yakuza at this point, and Sonic. So that's gonna be a bit of a problem.
Sega.
Yep.
I forgot the Yakuza were Sega.
Yep. They own. Sega owns Yakuza and Sonic and Total War, I think, and Alien.
And Alien. They said they're not going to make any more Alien games though, because they're not profitable enough.
Womp womp. R.I.P. Survival Horror. You're an indie only thing now. The
it's
that's
no
rough.
loss, really.
I think it was.
Wasn't
it Sega that took down people's YouTube channels over fucking Shining Force of all things?
I think so.
I think so. Yeah.
I think Total Biscuit was really mad about that for a while or something. That's the only reason I heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
He used to yell at that a lot.
So yeah, if
Yeah,
YouTube
it's
goes
Shining
down,
Force.
bye to you, audience.
You'll finally be free.
Like fundamentally, even when I desperately switch to some other platform, like 10% of them will come with me, if that.
If you're lucky.
So
Yeah.
few people. And I learned, I know this the fucking like. One, I used to try to tell people to go watch my Twitch streams, and they didn't. They were like, "No, I'm here." But even like when I was back on Sad Games, I'd be like, "Hey, I'm making a new YouTube channel," and no one cared. Like when I started my new channel, I had zero support from the Sad Games audience. They didn't give a fuck. You can't even get people to click on a second thing.
But also, I think that might have been
Yep.
because Andrew was on the next video being like, "Don't go and watch Keith on the other channel."
Exactly.
Even if
Yeah,
I
he
made a
was
new,
sabotaging
even
you.
if I'm, if things did go crash dropping like this, I'd have to upload a new video like every hour, just repeatedly shouting, "Go to the new thing, go to the new thing," and just spam people because people still don't know I have a new channel now. Every time anything
It's
comes
boring,
up, people are
Keith.
like, "What? I watch all of your videos and I never heard about any of this." I'm like, "You don't watch all my videos, then." I talk about it all the fucking time and I keep promoting it. But that's YouTube's discoverability problem, and there's like no like. There's no easy place on YouTube to be like, here's information I want all of my audience to know collectively. Like that's like, here's my Patreon and here's my new channel. Here's how my Patreon works. Like that kind of stuff. Like there's technically places you can put some of this stuff, but it's not visible and people aren't compelled to look
And
at it
people
in any
don't-
real way.
People don't read the description, which is for good reasons. I don't read
Yeah.
the description either.
It's just its own thing.
The description
guess.
isn't meant to be to add to like
No,
for
it's SEO.
announcements. It's meant for like, you came here for this link. It's in the description, but you say that out loud in the video, not for anything else, literally. And it's also for things like if you have a video essay and you have research links and you put them in the description, that's fine, I suppose. So I think
been
we
a-
have
it's
run
been
our
interesting-
time out.
Yeah, about
Yes.
it's been an interesting few years where just like people are like from day one, people are always like, how are you going to do this? How can you do such a risky job? It's so high risk and you could lose your job at any moment. It's like, how scary to work on a platform. And then fucking COVID happened and like it was the most secure job on the planet. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like what the fuck is a secure job? Like let me know when you find whatever that means, because people act like YouTube's comparatively dangerous, and I'm like, compared to what? Compared to what that normal people have? Like, congratulations, Jeff Bezos, you have a secure job. Everyone else, fuck you.
No, he
Well,
doesn't.
maybe
He's not
maybe it
employed
does-
anymore.
Well, he had a secure job, and then he chose to leave
Yeah.
it because he had infinite money.
Ma- I don't know.
No,
what
he
about
he is poor now. He's the second richest man in the world. That's poor. That's
He
pathetic.
didn't get poorer for him to become the second richest man. He got less rich. He got less richer, I should say. No, he got more money than he had before,
The
but he
entire
didn't get
planet
as
is
more
just
money
Squid
as the
Game
more
with
than
one
money.
victor.
So maybe it's from a less. Maybe what? How do you? I mean, if it's okay for me to ask, how do you do about healthcare in the U.S., Keith and Andrew? I mean, Andrew, you have a job.
How do I do about healthcare?
Yeah.
I might have to start paying for it next year.
Because you're
So far, I don't make. I hadn't been making enough money to actually have to pay for healthcare yet.
mhm.
I got that Obamacare.
And you don't
Gross.
qualify anymore. Is that the?
I might not
The threshold?
qualify next year. I mean, you find out when you pay your taxes.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So
when you
basically you have to
that's
pay
when you're
for
like,
health
that's how much I
insurance.
made this year, and then you compare it to the threshold that I never remember and have to check again.
And you basically have to subscribe to a health insurance provider.
Yeah, and then I'll.
Mhm.
The irony is that when you make more money, you suddenly are responsible for way more costs out of nowhere, and so you'd actually make less money.
So, maybe that
I'm gonna
is
be-
one.
I might be poor next year compared to this year. Funnily enough,
Yeah. Well, so maybe that is one perspective where YouTube is less stable because of healthcare in the United States being shit.
oh yeah, because it doesn't pay its own healthcare. That's one of the things that's interesting hearing about like
what, like Lindsay Ellis's Patreon and stuff like that, and how it's like it pays all these different people's job for, because there's like she has multiple employees and it pays for like not just their wages but like their healthcare and everything. Like that's just like part of the expense of having employees. Greatly inflates the idea of like how much would it cost to have an employee as a YouTube channel. It's like kind of a fucking lot, actually.
Yeah.
Jesus,
It's a lot.
good luck.
If you can pay yourself very comfortably, you can pay an employee.
Yeah, no, you just have to be rich.
The old additive is that every one employee costs 2 employees. So if you hire one person, you need
recursive statement.
Well, it is, but that's the nature of insurance. Is that like in order to have one employee, you basically need to be able to afford 2. Because the insurance and the fees accrued by having an employee is enough to make up for another employee.
That's another reason why healthcare is shit in the United States. It's holding back all the small companies because of
that's
these
the point,
monumental prices.
Yeah, it wasn't small companies that were asking to pay for health insurance for employees. They weren't out there in the streets like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Like,
yeah.
Well, this is our podcast. Sorry about the technical difficulties, but it was that or nothing. And also, Quiet Andrew sounds furious, and I don't like it.
I'm not mad. I'm just trying not to like.
No, I know. I'm saying you when you're quiet, you sound so much angrier.
This is why I just try to be very emotive. Is because I don't.
The shouting we're used to, the growl is like terrifying.
Maybe I'll start talking like this at work.
Oh no. See you guys next week when Andrew spikes the volume again.
Yes.